so obvious. It's so obvious. Everything's so obvious. Welcome, one and all, to CTO Live Episode 3. Thank you for coming in. Remember, there are only certain commands you all can use, but you all are my audience. Stop arguing in the chat. We got to come together against the Zionists and the 9/11ers. Stop fighting. But anyway, welcome, one and all. Please, you have different commands. You are the audience. You can whistle, laugh, boo, clap, alert, and some other shit. We'll be adding more later, like oohs and ahs. But yes, welcome, one and all, to... Can I turn that on? Hold on. Thank you. Well, no, if you all are gonna be arguing in the dojo, CTO nights are the time to argue. You're right, Sinner. I think you're right about that. Thank you, Sinner, for coming in. Can't hear the claps. Oh, here we go again. All right. Okay. Okay. Now remember, we had this problem last time. God damn it. Hold on. Yes. Hold on. Why isn't it working? I can hear it. See, I can hear all of that. All right, give me just a few minutes to set this up, and thank you one and all for coming in. Yep, I hear all of that. I hear it all. Where does it say first episode? It does in the intro messages because Dorothy's a liar. But it shouldn't say it in the actual title of the stream. It should say, yeah, 9/11 terrorist attack or inside job, you know. Clickbait. It's actually not clickbait. It's actual bait. Real bait. Hold on. Let me reload. Yeah. It says the title's all... Huh? Yes, it is. It is episode 3, Zeitgeist part 2. Does it not say that? Yeah, it says Zeitgeist part 2 right there in the title. Yes. So today is episode 3 officially. But we're going to go back into the Zeitgeist doc for the second part of the Zeitgeist doc. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Oh, up there. Oh, goddamn. Okay. Give me just a second. Just a few little seconds. Welcome to... Welcome to... There we go. Hey! Yeah, welcome to CTO Live. All right, let's fix the sounds real quick. So weird. Let me see. Capture all this. Oh, I think I figured it out. Hold on. I didn't have the right input. Is that what it is? Okay. Try again. Someone laugh, cry, bleed, whatever the fuck. Try it again. Yeah, how is Mama Nessa doing? Try another sound. All right, well, the alert worked. Interesting. Okay, what the actual fuck? Huh. Okay, try again. Okay, well, that works. Why? Why the fuck does that work? Okay, it works, I think. Hold on. Where am I? Help! Help! No, I ain't right. We don't want to see that shit again. Thank you. Keep trying the sounds. We're probably going to have to fix it as we go. I guess I didn't fix it from last time because we had that whole audio issue. But thank you one and all for coming in. We got Sinner, Godzilla, Nessie, Alcatraz, Addy, V, and some others. Thank you for coming in tonight. We're going to have a hell of a show tonight, let me tell you. Last time we went over religion, which is, for some people, an easier topic to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight, which is 9/11. Ooh, where's my ooh eyes? Yes, we're going to talk about it. Where's my chat? Let's get chat in here. There they are. It's loading up. Thank you for coming in, one and all, again. Beaver Castorium, but it's taken from furries. Ooh, a nice new job. Nice. Yes, audio is moving a ton. Yep, about 8 months. He'll be here strapped on my chest for CTO before you know it, and he'll be learning alongside of us. Investigate 311. Yeah, I know that means. But yeah, keep trying the sounds. I'm pretty sure it's going to fuck up again, but we'll figure it out. We always do, don't we? But yes, welcome one and all. If you were not here for last week's or 2 weeks ago, I don't think we've actually had an episode here in a couple weeks. If you're not here for last time, we went over the first part of the Zeitgeist documentary. Let me get a little closer to y'all, which was about religion, as I was saying earlier. But tonight, we're going into the second part of the Zeitgeist documentary. Came out in like 2006. There's been many Zeitgeist documentaries, but this is the OG real one. But tonight, we're going into 9/11. Yes, 9/11. September 11th, 2001. When the whole world fucking changed for the worse. Let me say that. Yeah, I just said it. Uh-huh. Hold on, what you got going on in chat there? It took this guy 4 months to reach level 100 in Kingdom Hearts 1. Oh my god. Do you remember when that fucking guy, that Pandaren in WoW, he was on the Pandaren Island, and he leveled just by picking herbs? It took him I think it took him more than 4 months, but that's pretty crazy. That's pretty nuts. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. What you got there? What you got there? Anal Cunt? Anal Cunt. That's a good band. No, I'm not calling you all anal cunts. It's a band. It's a very nice band. Go listen to him. Yeah, the Panda, dude. I think he spent over a year picking herbs to just level in the intro. Because at that point, I don't... Like, even low-level herbs would still give you XP. So, it was kind of like the World of Warcraft South Park episode where they leveled just with pigs, which you can't do. You can't level with low-level mobs. Not until a certain level, of course. Yep, anal kind AXCX, that's another good way. Herbs and ore, yeah. Yeah, I know you remember that center. That's some crazy shit. Yes, go Jeremiah. Yes, goddamn, we know those amazing bands. But we're talking about anal cunt right now. Right now! Nessie, what are you doing over there? Oh, Nessie's ignoring me. She's not watching the show. That's fine. She's watching a more handsome hippie. Oh, there I am. I see me again. I don't look like a hippie, though. But yes, tonight, folks, we're going to try to make this more succinct than our last two episodes. I do want to stay under the 3-hour mark, 3 hours at most, and I'm going to try to pace my talking. I know I talk a lot and I say a lot in a small amount of time. Let's say CTO is practice for that, so I can learn to communicate all over again. But there's so much to talk about 9/11, and we're not going to go over probably even 20% of what needs to be discussed. So we're going to go over we're going to specifically stick with what the doc talks about. I will try not to go off subject too much about certain things I really want to talk about, but anytime I get off subject, please alert me. Let me know. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Split your logs with blood and thunder. When you see the white well, break your backs and crack your oars. Sounds like a sea shanty. It's okay, Nessie. You do what you got to do. A-nail. A-nail. Oh, man, Sinner, it's thank you for asking. Actually, next week is July 4th for us Americans. And you know Don Ronnie, the spirit of Don Ronnie, the patriotic spirit of Don Yanni really heightens during that time. So I'm thinking July 3rd, of course. He never does July 4th on July 4th. July 3rd will be our next Don Ronnie episode in the Gaming Dojo. We will be playing Hunt of the Wild or another hunting game. We'll be celebrating, listening to copyrighted music. We'll have a good old time. Get drunk. Be misogynistic. You know the whole Don Ronnie spiel. No, it's Yanni. Don Yanni. And when he gets too many drinks, it's Don Yanni. Don Yanni. That's his pet name. For those who don't know who Don Ronnie is, stay tuned for July 3rd. What is that, on a Tuesday? July 4th. July 3rd's on a Monday. So for our next Random Play Monday will actually be our July 4th celebration on July 3rd. So stay tuned for that. But tonight we're going into, like I said, 9/11. Something that happened many years ago. Something that happened for a lot of my audience members. You all were like children or babies. I was in high school at the time. I remember seeing the buildings fall. No. Yes. All right, I'm not 100%, but if Annie was in here, she'd probably remember. I'm pretty sure she went to the same school I did. She'd probably remember if it happened, but they did turn on the TVs for us in chemistry class. I remember I was in chemistry class. I don't know if we saw the buildings fall at school or after school, but we saw all this shit going on, and we're all just sitting there like, what the fuck is happening? So that's where I was. Right. No, I know. And some of you just... And, I didn't even get into 9/11 shit until I was in my 20s. So it happened when I was about 15, 16. And I didn't really start to question anything until almost another 10 years later. So it's kind of been swept under the rug in the annals of history. The annals. So it's definitely something that needs to be addressed yet again. And not so much because we can change the past, but so we can fucking learn from it, okay? 9/11 was not a terrorist attack by Pakistanis and Osama bin Laden. Again, I don't want to go into too much that isn't part of the doc. I want the doc to kind of speak for me. We'll stop it here and there, talk about it. It's only like 30-minute part. We got about 2 or 3 hours, so we should be able to fluff up the episode pretty nice with our opinions, our evidence. But You want to talk about a psyop? It was more than a psyop, obviously, but once it happened, everything that came after was a fucking psyop. Go listen to Edward Snowden. Go listen to David Icke. Go listen to Jordan Maxwell. Some of these people are dead. Lots of chemistry made the bombs and Scud missiles. Right. Thank you, Nessie. I knew you were going to... I had a feeling you were about to alert me. But all right. Let's see. Do I need to move myself just slightly over? Okay, and again, let me know about sounds. We're probably going to have to fix some stuff as we go along, but it should be good. We don't have a sex alert. Maybe we need one. Sexy. It's always pretty sexy in here, though. Even in CTO. But again, welcome one and all to Conveying the Obvious Live, Episode 3, with your host, Mr. Darling. A conspiracy theorist in mind, body, spirit, and heart. Let me pull up the doc and we'll get started. Oh, right. So before we get into the doc, before we get into the documentary tonight, I want to show you all just a couple of videos, okay? For those who have never seen controlled demolition in real life or on a video, of which I've seen both, I've never seen a skyscraper demolished, but I have seen at least 5-story buildings, maybe a 6-story building demolished with controlled demolition. That's the key word here. Keywords, controlled demolition. And then I want to show you an example of a building, a skyscraper, being on fire for almost an hour and it not falling. Again, Twin Towers. We might not go into the Pentagon tonight. We might not go into World Trade Center 3. We probably will. WTC 3. Or, I'm sorry, WTC 7. Ain't it? It's the third building that magically just disintegrated for no fucking... It had a little fire on the roof and just disintegrated. No one talks about that. When they say remember 9/11, I say remember WTC 7 or WTC 3. What the fuck is it? Hold on. I better know what I'm talking about. Fucking acronyms. Yes. World Trade Center 7. Yeah. We're going to go into that as well. On 9/11 you did. I did what? What? I got sexy during 9/11. But yeah, let's, for those who have never seen controlled demolition, like, you have to ask yourself, okay, in a city that's surrounded by buildings, how do they bring a building down? Well, you could spend the time and money etching away at the building one brick at a time, but that ain't going to happen. So what do? They use controlled demolition. They use different types of explosives. I don't think thermite is necessarily used with controlled demolition. Maybe it is, but we'll bring up the word thermite later. Thermite, a very important word we're going to use tonight. Right. See, Godzilla knows where I'm going. Well, again, yeah, man. Oh, my God. Just talk to the firefighters that went through all the medical bills after that. They breathed in asbestos, human, skin that's been vaporized. Oh, man, it was crazy. Yep. You're absolutely right, Goddale. I agree. 9/11 did not just change America. It changed the entire fucking world. But we'll go into that more. But first, let me turn on the internets. And let's look at some actual buildings with actual controlled demolition. And then we're going to compare and contrast. Okay? Okay? We're going to see if the buildings of 9/11 had looked a little bit like controlled demolition. Y'all ready for that? Oh, God. Okay, Nessie. Thank you. All right, let's just watch this a little bit. We're not going to watch this whole video.
While building a new high-rise attracts a lot of attention, demolitions can actually be much more spectacular.
All right, let's just watch this.
Especially
again, I want to give you all examples of controlled demolition. So when I bring it up earlier in the episode, you're going to be like, what the fuck? And that's just one piece of evidence against the 9/11 official story.
Built up cities. So let's take a look at the tallest demolitions in the world.
Now, a couple of things you need to keep in mind for controlled demolition, of which he might talk about, is the way the building falls, and just keep the details of how these buildings fall in mind. Okay? No, you're not, Godzilla. Bullshit.
Ocean
Tower. I mean, maybe you are.
Our first tower was located on South Padre Island in Texas, close to SpaceX's new Starship facility. It was 115 meters.
Pretty tall, not as tall as Twin Towers, probably, for this example.
Very before it fell in 2009. The building was supposed to include luxury condominiums with a swimming pool,
I just want you to see the buildings part. I don't care.
Room for residents to officially earned the nickname. And
as you can see, this building had already been gutted before they demolished it, probably to use the materials in there for another building. But this one's been, this was not a great example as to what I'm talking about. But again, controlled demolition.
In December
That's what we're
of
focusing
2009, a company known as Controlled Demolition Incorporated performed a
is that a
controlled
conspiracy
implosion
theory,
of the
Alcatraz?
building.
But watch how this building falls. I'm sorry, let's go over here. There we go. Just watch how some of these examples fall. Okay? Okay. And they call it controlled demolition because, as you can see, it's very fucking controlled, going straight, almost straight down
concrete structure
onto
ever
itself.
to be imploded. The park next to the Ocean Tower was closed for the day to ensure the safety of the residents of the island. Still, spectators were able to watch the skyscraper crumble in nearby hotels and restaurants.
Is this what your dick does when we talk about 9/11? Just goes straight limp? I know what you're talking
Number
about.
7, Landmark Tower.
Landmark Tower.
Also
All
in
right.
Texas was the Landmark Tower, a 380-foot or
Now
about
look,
160.
This is an example of a tall-ass tower being demolished with controlled demolitions in the middle of a city. Let's see how they go about something like this, because you would think the towers would just fall over, right? You would think that a building getting hit by a plane or missile or whatever the fuck it was, we'll talk about that probably not in this episode, but much later. You think a tower getting hit by that and then falls over, it would fall over. It wouldn't just magical. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself here.
16-meter tall tower
because you don't want the building hitting other buildings.
When the building first
Insurance
opened to the
fuck
public in 1957, it was the highest
I think so,
skyscraper
Goddo. I think
in
I've
the
seen
city.
evidence of that.
It also had the largest revolving digital clock in the world at the top of the building. The skyscraper was originally fully occupied.
Yeah.
But after
show us,
30 years
show
at
us
the
the
end of its lifetime, the building
demolition.
formed the implosion with the help of just over 300.
Did you hear what he said? Another keyword: implosion. Keep that in mind. There are indicators of an explosion versus an implosion. Both can happen at the same time within a certain thing. But just keep some of these keywords from controlled demolitioners, okay?
60 pounds of explosives. It took only a couple of minutes for the Landmark Tower to come tumbling down.
If we don't get banned tonight, hey, listen. Oh, that sounds horrible. If we don't get banned tonight, we're going to probably be good going forward. Just saying. If I don't go on a watch list, which I'm already on a couple, I imagine. If we don't go on the Twitch watch list, we should be good for future episodes. My heart will go on. We will. No matter where we get banned, we will go on. All right, let's see. Let's see how well they can control this. Look at that. Look at that. Now, let me tell you something. To get a building to fall on itself like this, look at that. I mean, granted, it's a little off there, a little bit off, probably about 10, 20 feet, which could matter in a controlled demolition. But just look at how controlled and perfect that went down, okay? Okay. Look, they're clapping. Woo! Yeah, you're going to be clapping later.
Number 6.
Look at this.
AFE Tower.
The AFE Towers. Look,
at
2 towers.
16 meters tall, or 380.
So when they do, and I'm not an expert on demolition. I'm sorry, thank you. I'm not expert on demolition. But to make a building fall upon itself like that, you have to have very specific TNT, explosives, thermite, whatever, on very specific grounded pillars that go straight into. Hold on, no, it's okay, Goddo. You're gonna when you build a building that can withstand winds and shit that's this tall or taller, you have to dig into the ground. You have to. I forget. Someone out there might know, but the pillars they use in these buildings, they're fucking thick. They're like obelisks, straight into the ground, straight up in the air, and that's what holds everything together. So to make a building fall upon itself like that would require the demolition of these. Shut up. Would require the demolition of these pillars, okay? Going forward.
2 feet. This building was the tallest tower to ever be demolished in Europe. The AFE Tower was a part of the campus of the Goethe University in Frankfurt, Germany. Initially, they wanted to dismantle it piece by piece, but after numerous complaints from the residents
the
about
9/11
the
shit
process,
that was accidentally in MGS2 is so funny. Accidentally my ass.
Their new plans gained a lot of attention in the media, and over 30,000 people watched the implosion live on site.
But I can't talk about that. We'll be playing Metal Gear Solid 2 later. I just can't talk about that. I just can't do it. Watch this. Watch this. So they demolished the building.
With a loud bang, the concrete skeleton...
I need a pause button. So this building was one building, and as you can see, they must have set up the dynamite, whatever they used, to kind of cut it in half. Let one fall and then the other fall. Again, keep it in mind. Just watching this is not 9/11 shit. We're just understanding controlled demolition.
Was brought down first. A few seconds later, the building core itself was separated by 2 blasts.
All right. You see these parts? Okay, there are words for all this shit when you destroy a building like this. But see these wisps of smoke coming out? These are the different levels here at the base, here in the middle, to control, demolish the building. And they go off at very specific times so the building doesn't fall over, which has happened in the past with controlled demolition. They had to learn from it. Again, just keep all these details in mind.
On the 5th and 17th floors. One part fell to the south and the other part to the north.
Now, as you can see, that one did kind of fall over, but that was probably meant
After the property
to go
stood
back over
vacant for a few years,
on the building
to the
that had already
regret
fallen,
of the
part of the
Goethe
building.
University students, a modern residential and hotel tower known as 140 West was built. The new building has luxury apartments on the top floors and hotel rooms below them. The high-rise building was the company's. While the demolition was quick, the impact of the explosion. With the help of 1.4 tons of dynamite and 12,000 detonators, the building came crashing down into pieces. While the demolition was quick, clearing up all of the 66-foot-high piles of debris took a...
Okay, now this is something you won't usually see in controlled demolition. And again, you wouldn't be able to see it from here, but something 9/11 had with the after effects compared to all these actual controlled demolition, there was one big difference. It's what was seen under the fucking basement. We're going to look at pictures. Hopefully the doc brings it up. But there are signs of a nuclear bomb, an atomizing nuclear bomb going off at the base of at least one of the Twin Towers. The soil. So when you destroy something with an atomic bomb, it leaves traces, radiation, this and that. But it can leave traces in the soil that almost creates like a spiral. Keep it in mind. But okay, I think we're done with this video. We get it. We get the okay. Let's move on to the next thing. Then we'll get into the doc. Yes, there was Alcatraz, and funny enough, just a week prior, and again, I didn't want to get too much into this, but just a week prior, Silverstein. I don't know if he owned the Twin Towers, but he definitely had money. Silverstein took out a huge, insanely huge insurance claim on both of the Twin Towers. 6 to 7 days before the Twin Towers destroyed. And apparently, going back to the vaults had already been emptied. So, and again, a lot of this shit I'm saying tonight, and this goes for almost every episode of CTO, I can't 100% prove most of this shit, right? But that's not what CTO's necessarily all about. We're not all about just getting the answers. We're about trying to learn from shit and going forward with knowledge so we don't get screwed over again or get, so people don't win over on us. So we're a little bit smarter going forward. So that's the point. So again, I have no problem with you all saying, well, that's bullshit. Prove it. Well, some of these things I can't prove. But you just got to connect the dots, and you got to stay objective. You don't want to turn into a paranoid schizophrenic either, because you'll go one way or the other. You'll go the I'm going to learn from history route, or you're going to go to the crazy route. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. Look at you, Alcatraz. All right, let's go to the next thing. This is more recent. This was 9 months ago. Okay. And if anyone knows anything about Chinese buildings, you know they ain't the best. But with that in mind, here, let me set this up here. In China, they will build buildings with literal paper. They will mix paper and shit into cement and all this just to save costs. And if anyone's watched any videos of Chinese skyscrapers, they fall apart just by sitting there. Okay? So with that in mind, the materials used for most Chinese buildings, most, not all, especially, I'm talking about actual like mainland China, the main city, like Bangkok, Hong Kong. Well, is Hong Kong China anymore? I don't know. But suffice to say, these buildings aren't made to standard compared to, like, let's say, New York buildings. However, this example here, the building was on fire for almost an hour, never fell. Barely, shit came off of it, but it never fell. And they were able to get the fire out within an hour. One more thing to add. The firefighters' testimonies before most of them died from 9/11 was they were not allowed to go in the building. They kept being told, do not go in the building. And they're like, what the fuck? I'm a firefighter. We got to put this fire out. They were told not to go in the building. And some of them were told. Most of them were told not. But we'll go over all that stuff. Just very weird shit, okay? Let's see. Let's look at this video. Just to prove what I was saying. Again, building made of fucking paper and feces. Yes, apparently they mix in feces with their cement too. You know, it's a nice material, feces. So with that being said, this building was shit, but it still withstood a blazing fire. 9/11 buildings, Twin Towers did not even have fires this bad. Look at this shit. Just look at it. 9/11 was mail time for... I know what you're talking about. What, Addie? Could you be more specific with your question? Go ahead and let me know. Yeah, feces? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, they put all sorts of shit in their building materials to save costs. You know, Chinese people build entire cities that no one lives in for, like, insurance claims or something. That's a whole... I don't know if that's a conspiracy as much as a good business move or a weird business move, but Look at that fire. Look at that smoke. The Twin Towers were on fire and smoking, but nothing like that, okay? Look at that. Look at that. Why isn't it already fallen? Why isn't it already fallen? Is it because the jet fuel wasn't implemented? So, Addie, from a lot of, and you'll be hard pressed to find these testimonies because most of these firefighters are dead and or their testimonies have been swept under the rug. You can find this shit like 10 years ago or more. But a lot of firefighters were told to not go in the Twin Tower buildings. Some were allowed to go in. Most of them said they had to stay outside. And I want to say more about what they heard when they were outside, but I can't talk about that. We got to get into the doc. But we'll talk about it, buddy. Don't you worry. But again, this example here is of a building on fire for around an hour that was put out, by the way, under an hour, made of feces, paper, and shit concrete, and it still didn't fall. Let's go. Oh, okay, that's the end of the video. There you go. But yeah, that building was about 9 months ago, that fire, in Changsha, central China. 42-floor building, of which I think the Twin Towers were a bit higher than that. Regardless, it didn't fall. And I'll be honest, you'll be hard-pressed to find a skyscraper made of the certain materials with the obelisk kind of pillars I told you about that go in the ground that actually fall because of a fire. Even in the San Francisco fires back in the day, when there were Chicago fires and San Fran fires, like in the early 1900s, even the buildings back then would burn out, never fall. Okay, moving on. Let's move on, shall we? Let's get into the meat of why we're here. It's just crazy to me. And you're going to find some debunking. You're going to find some people on YouTube trying to debunk the debunkers. They're paid. They're paid. Don't worry about it. Just ignore them. Yeah, to not enter the building. And, you know, I think it took an hour and a half for the Twin Towers both to fall, of which they both fell almost simultaneously, by the way. Hold on. God, man. All right. But yes, we are on the second part of Zeitgeist. This, I think this part is 40 minutes long. We're going to stop and start here and there and discuss it. Please feel free. If you have a differing opinion about what we're talking about, bring it up. I want to hear all opinions out there. None of us are wrong until we're proven wrong. Yeah? You ain't guilty till proven guilty. But here we go. Oh, yes. CB's not in here. But again, you all are my audience. You all are basically the sounds tonight. Clapping, booing, whistling, whatever. Sound should work. But here we go. Second part of Zeitgeist. Thank you so much for being open-minded and coming in here tonight to discuss such a weird topic. Because it is weird. And it's a deep, deep, deep rabbit hole of which we're only going to scratch the surface. Bing bong. What's going on, buddy? You're coming in just in the right time. I was showing examples of actual controlled demolition. I showed an example of a Chinese skyscraper 9 months ago that was on fire for an hour. They got the fire put out, and it never fell. Which goes against... we're just trying to find discrepancies of what we're about to see versus the official story versus other examples, okay? That's what you got to do. You got to connect the dots. You can't just get sources from one place, okay? But here we go.
Ignore them.
Love you all. Thank you for coming in. Get ready to have your mind blown. If you want me to stop for any reason, if you want to discuss anything, bring it up. Love y'all.
Or denounce them as blasphemers.
It is wrong, blasphemous, and sinful for you to suggest, imply, or...
I don't know if these subtitles are going to work. Thank you. I don't know if these subtitles are going to work.
Other people come to the
for the
conclusion
deaf.
that the U.S. government killed 3,000 of its own citizens.
Yeah, Tucker was definitely a fucking rhino. He's come to the other side. Part 2. All the world's a stage. Why is that in 480? Yeah, this is the uncensored version Nessie found for us. There was a censored version, but nah. This whole part would be censored. So we're going to have to watch a 480 version of the uncensored. So I apologize. Good music. Get you in the mood for conspiracies.
As if a demolition team set off when you see the old demolitions of these old...
Now, Addy, Addy and Godzilla. Godzilla probably knows a lot about all this already, but Addy and others, most of the footage, at least the newscasters that were talking during this event, you can't find it anymore. And what's cool is this is such an old video, it's going to have all that old content. So just right off the bat, and just listen to what some of these people say. One of the newscasters, again, he's probably not a demolition expert, but he was quoted in saying, it's as if a demolition team set off demolitions. Okay, just, there's so much to take in here. Just keep an open mind. We'll get through it.
It looks like one of those scenes of an old building being purposely dynamited and blown up.
Anybody who's ever watched a building being demolished on purpose knows that if you're going to do this, you have to get at the under-infrastructure of a building.
Under-infrastructure. In the basement. Under the basement. You have, with demolition like this, you have to destroy the underlying infrastructure. Isn't that what I just said earlier? Let's go.
Collapsing. This was the result of something that was planned.
This was the result of something that was planned. What is CNN saying this shit?
That the first tower just happened to collapse, and then the second tower just happened to collapse in exactly the same way.
In exactly the same way.
How did they accomplish this?
How did they accomplish this?
The building collapsed to dust.
Dust.
You don't find a desk. You don't find a chair.
There's a firefighter right there.
You don't find a telephone, a computer. The biggest piece of a telephone I found was half of the keypad, and it was about this big.
What happened to the concrete was pulverized from river to river. There was
the concrete was pulverized from river to river. River's a term, I think, when you with architecture, probably from one extreme end of the building to the other at the base. Pulverized, he said, to dust powder. Remember what I was talking about? Atomized nuclear bomb. Let's continue.
2-3 inches thick. The concrete was just pulverized.
In addition to those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by world-class dynamite to knock it down.
If they had detonated, they were planned to take our building.
I heard a second explosion.
There was a heavy-duty explosion.
That was a secondary explosion.
Addy, come back to me, brother. You see that guy with the bloody nose? We got some firefighter testimonies in this doc, thank God. Hold on.
What happened to the concrete was pulverized from river to...
The guy with the bloody nose, that interview with him is insane. But he talks about how the firefighters heard explosions coming from the bases, from both bases of both buildings prior to them blowing up. Explosions that rocked the ground, that they have evidence of activity, like a what's it called when there's earthquakes? What's that called when they have the scale that shows you the earthquakes and it's like a 9.0 Richter scale, right? They have evidence of the Richter scale readings that day, and it's akin to explosions, like dynamite explosions. Anyway. But yeah, we'll seismic activity. Which, again, usually only nuclear devices or a shit ton of dynamite could do. A plane hitting a building, disintegrating, and making said building fall will not show up on the seismic activity scale as much as it did, if at all. Let's go back. But there's, again, so much to take in. I know I talk fast and I talk a lot, but it's just so much shit. I love you all. Please stay here. Stay with me.
There was dust powder 2-3 inches thick. The concrete was just pulverized.
In addition to those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by workers dynamite to knock it down.
I heard a second explosion.
There was a heavy-duty explosion.
Then there was some secondary explosions and then subsequent collapses.
Explosion blew and it knocked everybody over.
To me, it sounded like an explosion.
It sounded like gunfire. Bang, 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 bang. And then all of a sudden, 3 big explosions. And we heard
Oh my God, I'm sorry. And I was just saying the boom, 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 the gunfires they're talking about, that's controlled demolition. You have to take out every other story, every 5 stories, every 10 stories, depending on how tall it is, as we saw in one of the examples. But they heard the boom, 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 boom. These are people literally at the base of the Twin Towers, mind you, that actually survived, all bloodied, and they probably died like a couple months later from lung cancer. But they heard a boom, 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 heard an explosion go off at the base, was thrown back, and then the buildings fall down.
Big explosion coming down.
And then the entire top of the building just blew up.
We saw some kind of explosion.
By the force of the explosion.
Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor.
Then we get to the lobby. This is a big explosion.
The lobby looked as though a bomb had exploded there.
Big explosion in the lobby.
it's been a huge explosion.
Huge explosion that we all heard and felt.
We just witnessed some kind of follow-up explosion.
We heard a very loud explosion.
That is another bomb going off. He thinks that there were actually
a secondary explosion in the same tower. Do you all remember hearing that from the official story? Does anyone that know the official documentation, of which we should go over one day, not today, it's too much, but we can literally find discrepancies within the official document that the government released, the federal government, and, you know, shit you can see with your own fucking eyes. And you'll see discrepancies. You'll see that this shit ain't right. They're lying through their teeth. They don't mention demolition. They don't mention multiple explosions. They don't mention a base explosion. And guess what? They don't mention World Trade Center Tower 7, the 3rd tower near those buildings that just crumbled to fucking nothing because they had a fire on the roof. Like a little campfire on the roof. We'll get to that in a minute.
Devices that were planted in the building. Planted in the building.
Planted in the building. Planted in the building. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. This is the myth. So it's going to go over the official report, and it's going to go over what we know. 19 hijackers, directed by Osama bin Laden, again, this is the official report, took over 4 commercial jets with box cutters. And while evading our billion-dollar air defense system, NORAD, they hit 75% of their targets. Again, there's so much to go into. We could go into military shit that would blow your fucking mind. The day 9/11 happened, some other crazy shit was going on in Alaska, and I bet you've never fucking heard of that. And it's on record. Because, okay, World Trade Center, the 2 towers fell. World Trade Center never got hit, fell. The Pentagon got hit. And supposedly the 4th plane crashed in Philadelphia, crashed in like a forest in Pennsylvania or something, and literally turned to ash. There wasn't one body. It was like little pieces of metal where a bomb had hit the ground. Again, we're going to go into that here tonight. But here, that's just part of the official story, the 4 different planes. In turn, the World Trade Center Towers 1, 2, and 7 collapsed due to structural failure through fire in a pancake fashion, while the plane that hit the Pentagon vaporized upon impact. As did the plane that crashed in Shanksville. The 9/11 Commission, which there was a commission, like the Ministry of Truth, found that there were no warnings for this act of terrorism, which is a complete fucking lie. They knew something was about to happen, while multiple government failures prevented adequate defense. Addie, where the fuck are you? Are you writing this down? Listen to me. Like, I think George Carlin said this. If four planes can be taken over by desert people in a cave with box cutters and get past our $1 billion defense system, then obviously something's wrong with the defense system, or it's a fucking lie. But let's just keep going. That what I just told you all, that is the official story. Let's see if it checks out. And you can read it for yourself there. Now, that's not verbatim from the 9/11 Commission. That's just a summarization. I think I've blown Addy's mind. I think he's about to go bomb the government. Don't do it. It's totally illegal and constitutional legal. It's both illegal and constitutionally legal. All right, here we go. No warnings. Well, no warnings for this act of terrorism. Let's see if that's a lie or a truth.
I don't think anybody could have predicted that they would try to use an airplane as a missile, a hijacked airplane as a missile.
Condoleezza Rice! That sounds like a Mexican dish. Just to put her on a plate and send her to Mexico so the Mexicans can eat her. Power.
And I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
No specific threat involving really domestic operation.
She was.
The city's airliner and so.
There were no warning signs that I'm aware of.
USA Today reports that in the 2 years before the attacks on September the 11th, NORAD conducted exercises using hijacked airliners as weapons.
You hear that?
One target was the World Trade Center.
You hear that? 1997, they had already come up with this plan. There have been many different plans of possible, it's the military. They got to think of different contingencies and plan for them, right? But they'd already come up with plans of people using planes to destroy the Pentagon, destroy the World Trade Center. But here's the problem with that. We had just heard Bush and all the other fuckers, the elites, saying, we had no prior knowledge that anyone would do anything like this. Horrible.
In confidential documents from the Philippines obtained by CNN, the plan was clear. He will board any American commercial aircraft, control its cockpit, and dive it at the CIA headquarters.
Hell yeah.
Other buildings targeted the Pentagon and the World Trade Center.
Security and counterterrorism was blinking red, in the words of George Tenet, that the warnings of an imminent attack were so severe that something dramatic should have been done. It was unparalleled. Instead, our president went on a month-long vacation.
All right, so that was a lie. No warnings. All right, 19 hijackers. Yo, where's Sinner? Where is everybody? Hello? 19 hijackers, right? Let's see. Oh my God, let's see.
The head of Pakistani intelligence of the ISI, Mahmoud Ahmed, requested Omar Sheikh to wire $100,000 to Mohammed Atta, who was the lead hijacker.
Hijacker Mohammed Atta received wire transfers via Pakistan. The man sending the money to Atta is believed to be Ahmed Umar Saeed Sheikh.
Omar Sheikh admitted he was supported by the Pakistan government's intelligence service, the ISI.
They were having breakfast with the same man that was paid supposedly to go through this. 9/11 Commission deems the financing of the attacks of little practical importance.
4 or 5 of the alleged hijackers were on each of the flights. If so, their names should have been on the flight manifests. But the flight manifests that have been released contain neither the names of the alleged hijackers nor any Arab names whatsoever.
We know that the men who were supposedly
they could use aliases,
had their houses, cars, credit cards paid for by the U.S. government. They were, in truth, agents.
Evidence was also apparently planted. The passport of one of the hijackers on Flight 11 was allegedly found in the rubble.
Goes through the fireball, through the side of the plane, and comes down the ground unscathed. But something happened. For 6 months, they reported they had this passport. Boy, we've got it. We've got the proof. And then the guy stood up and was alive.
Several of these 19 men.
Yeah, they're like this is one of the this happened a lot during this. This was one of the telltale signs that something was just not right. Supposedly 19 hijackers. Most of them died supposedly, or if not, all of them were supposed to have died because they hijacked fucking plane and ran into a building and blew up. But as you can see about right there with that example and going forward, Not only were most of these people alive, but they're actually green-carded Americans going to college and shit. And they had no fucking clue what was going on. Let's see. Patriot Act. Patriot Act. Y'all remember what the Patriot Act is? Oh, boy.
Alive.
I couldn't believe it when the FBI put me on their list. They gave my name and my date of birth, but I am not a suicide bomber. I am here. I am alive. I have no idea how to fly a plane. So again, 19 hijackers supposedly died. At least when this movie came out, at least 6 had actually survived. But as for the other names and identities of the other hijackers, apparently they were just made up. They were aliases, or they just didn't fucking exist. So let's move on. And I like, this is what I did with my old CTO Hollywood videos, that I'd point out certain words people would say and we'd connect to those words. Probably got that idea from this, but now we're going into Osama bin Laden. Osama daddy. Osama bin Laden used to be a war hero for America. Just saying. Just saying. He had clout. He wasn't just some random dude. He had big clout with the elites.
Of course we're after Saddam Hussein. I mean, bin Laden. He's...
January 2001.
Nessie, and that's the thing too, right? I can show you all photoshopped images from World War II. So I don't know about AI generation, but who knows how long we've had that technology. 9/11 was an outside job. You ain't fucking wrong. But it was a job. And it wasn't just some dudes jihading on her ass. Nate, Big Titty Fish, thank you so much for coming in. We're going over 9/11 tonight. Part 2 of the Zeitgeist doc. Very intriguing stuff. Thank you for coming in.
The Bush administration orders the FBI and intelligence agencies to back off investigations involving the bin Laden family, including 2 of Osama bin Laden's relatives, who were living, guess where, in Falls Church, Virginia, right next to CIA headquarters.
When he was already America's most wanted criminal, he reportedly spent 2 weeks in the American hospital in Dubai, was treated by an American doctor, and visited by the local CIA agent.
We have not seen one piece of evidence that links Osama bin Laden directly to the planning stages of September 11th.
This failure to provide proof was later said to be unnecessary because bin Laden, in a video allegedly found in Afghanistan, admitted responsibility for the attacks. This confession is now widely cited as proof. But the man in this video has darker skin, fuller cheeks, and a broader nose than the Osama bin Laden of all other videos. We again seem to have planted evidence.
And see, Johnny, they don't need AI-generated images. You know, there's billions of people in the world, right? You're bound to look like someone else. So body doubles have been notoriously used throughout history for thousands of years. You know, to place a body double for an enemy, to place a body double for a king or something. I mean, you know, it's easy. Easy peasy. The Boston bombers, the Boston Vombers, I don't know about them. The Boston bombings, that's something we could go over, but that was also, in my opinion, faked and planned by the CIA. It was real. Actually, I have images that suggest that the bombings were not real. Like Photoshop, like video versions of Photoshopped versions of videos showing like the original and the faked, and it showed the faked with people losing their legs, and you see the original with legs, and you know, you never know what the fuck's real, especially through videos and stuff, which is why I say don't 100% believe anything we go over tonight. Just question a little bit. Healthy questioning is nice. Yeah, Nessie, they just kind of swept that under the rug, too. Cake and ice cream. What's going on, Annie? Yeah, we got the titty fish in here. Nessie, no, they supposedly, when it was Obama's reign, the smiling war tyrant, Obama's men, his military men, apparently caught Osama in one of his bases, and then they killed him and threw his body over the ocean off a boat. 2 things wrong with that, and we can go into that later. Per the rituals of the culture, of whatever culture he was, religious culture, you're not supposed to bury bodies in the water. That's like against the culture, against the religion. Well, number 1. So that was bound to cause problems. But number 2, if you throw Osama bin Laden's body in the water and claim you killed him, Where's the fucking proof? Very strange. He probably ain't fucking dead.
Osama's older brother Salim bin Laden.
The Boston bombers? Wait, what? Found them in a boat. No, I don't know what you're talking about. No, I have no idea. Wasn't the Boston bombings during like that race? It was during a race, wasn't it? Downtown Boston? Anyway, that's a whole other subject. Let's stay on track if we can.
Hired a man in Texas by the name of Jim Bath to handle all the investments in the United States for the bin Laden family. Jim Bath also happens to be a personal, almost lifelong friend and former Air National Guard pilot with George W. Bush. The connections between the Bushes and the bin Ladens become much more clear when George Herbert Walker Bush made trips to Saudi Arabia in 1998 and 2000 to meet with the bin Laden family.
All right, and that's something that most people don't understand. If you really look at the official story, a spoiler alert, if it was anyone that bombed the Twin Towers, it wasn't Pakistan or Afghanistan or Iraq. It was another Middle Eastern country. It was Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia had huge ties in the oil industry with elites in America. And another spoiler alert, it was basically a Zionist Saudi Arabian outside job, as Titty Fish said. It wasn't necessarily the Americans that did it to ourselves. It was the special interest groups that basically exist outside of America. You know, they don't tie themselves to countries. They're all about money and land and power, but they don't care about countries and shit. They're done with that. They're going beyond that plan. But yeah, it was Saudi Arabia and the Zionists, Israel. It was a joint effort, and there is evidence. But let's move on. Let's keep seeing what these people have to say.
On behalf,
Nessie, what you got over there? An unprecedented manhunt for, really? Zokar ensued. Who the fuck is that? With thousands of law enforcement. All right, what is this, Nessie? Hold on. Wait a minute. That's so weird. I remember that, but I thought that had to do with a school shooter in the boat. I thought I remembered a school shooter. That's what it... Oh, man. No, the Boston... I remember now. It's all coming back to me. The Boston bombing shit. Okay. So they first... God, I don't want to go into that. Can we stay on topic, please? I thought I was supposed to stay on topic. You all want me to talk about something else. Fuck. But suffice to say, from what I remember, in my opinion, is that they knew who bombed the people if there was a bombing. They had photos. But instead, they blamed it on this, an Adio like this part, this autismo crazy motherfucker who ended up hiding in a boat to hide from being shot. And instead of getting him out, interrogating him, they just blew him up. They just... I remember seeing that on TV or internet, whatever. That was a weird one. I don't want to go into that. I can't find much evidence anymore that helps one side or the other, to be honest. But most of this shit's distraction, folks, okay? Most of it.
Of a company called the Carlyle Group.
George Bush was meeting with Osama's older brother, there you go, Nessie, Shafiq bin Laden, on the morning of 9/11 in the Carlyle Group function. If you don't know who the Carlyle Group is, that's another big group like the Rockefellers, which is a family. You could say it's a group. Bilderberg, another big group of elitists. All right. Moving on. Pentagon. Yes, very interesting. I try to find video evidence of what I wanted to say tonight about just one thing about the Pentagon specifically is that most people think a plane hit it. Even based on the original footage and the new footage that arose, it's a fucking missile. It's a goddamn missile that hit the Pentagon. And there's more evidence just based on other things, there's more evidence to suggest that too. But let's see what they have to say.
How could anyone fly a 60-ton, 125-foot wide, 44-foot-tall plane through this obstacle course?
The aircraft, before striking the Pentagon...
Now, again, it may just be because of that perspective. Let's look at that again. That's I wish they would say that 3 or 4 times, that part right there. I never even thought about it like that. Just the physics alone doesn't make sense. How does a giant plane like this hit a very specific target right at the ground and miss every single street light and street pole around it? Did it just like, it came like this, It came like this. Can you say? Sounds like a missile to me.
Reportedly executed a 270-degree downward spiral, and yet Hani Hanyour was known as a terrible pilot who could not safely fly even a small plane.
So that's a quote from a flight school employee that's apparently trained one of the supposed hijackers, and he said he couldn't even fly one of those little planes, let alone 747.
No seats, no luggage, no bodies. Nothing but bricks and limestone.
The official explanation is that the intense heat from the jet fuel vaporized the entire plane. Flight 77 had 2 Rolls-Royce engines made of steel and titanium alloy and weighs 6 tons each. It is scientifically impossible.
So, right. No, you're going to be asking that about the Pennsylvania and Shanksville. We'll just say Shanksville because I don't know if it was Pennsylvania. I think it was. You're going to be saying it about that too. Oh, fuck. What was I going to say? Fuck it. Moving on.
The 12 tons of steel and titanium was vaporized by jet fuel.
We're also told that...
Oh, right. Jet fuel. And you can look this up. Jet fuel, and they probably changed history on Wiki and all that. But jet fuel is notorious for not being able to burn at high temperatures because they put it in fucking planes. And Godzilla can talk more about this. He was talking about compressed jet fuel, which is air. But that's a whole other thing. But jet fuel supposedly can only burn up to what kerosene can burn up to. It doesn't burn up to a very high temperature. So the whole meme of jet fuel can't melt steel beams is accurate because it just can't reach a certain temperature point to be able to melt some of those steels and metals. It can't get to that temperature point, to the melting point. Yes? Addy, there was a 4th plane, supposedly, that crashed full of people, and they made a movie about it. Oh, my God. Those movies they came out with about 9/11, that's some of the biggest propaganda I've ever seen. Jet fuel can't melt steel boners. And, yeah, then it became that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Still malleable, but jet fuel will not disintegrate and vaporize steel. And that's what they were trying to say with the Pentagon hit. That's what they were trying to say with the Shanksville plane. That's what they were trying to say about the Twin Towers. It doesn't make sense. Anyone want to bet on how many people are going to be mugged at the NASCAR race? Oh, God. All right, going back to the video.
The bodies were able to be identified.
Trevor
either
Moore.
By their fingerprints.
Oh, my God, Nessie. That's perfect. I might have to show that. Trevor Moore made a song about 9/11, or at least a little chorus or something. We'll have to watch that in just a second. Lord God.
By the DNA. So what kind
Probably
of fire
a lot,
can vaporize aluminum and tempered steel?
Didn't Chicago, didn't around Juneteenth, Chicago had a huge fucking riot? It's Chicago. What do you expect? Sorry, V.
And yet leave human bodies intact.
From my close-up inspection, there's
no evidence. That's a good point. He said here. I'm so sorry. Hold on. That's a very good point. Where are we at? 47. Listen to what this brilliant man has to say. Hold on. I gotta go back more.
Aluminum and tempered steel.
What kind of fire can vaporize aluminum and tempered steel
and yet leave human bodies intact?
And leave human bodies intact and passports.
From my close-up inspection, there's no evidence of a plane having crashed anywhere near the Pentagon. And as I said, the only pieces left that you can see are small enough that you could pick up in your hand.
Shortly after the strike, government agents picked up debris and carried it off. The entire lawn was covered with dirt and gravel, so that
CIA agents were seen taking debris off the field. Debris of what? What were they trying to hide? Why would they take debris from a plane crash, a known terrorist activity? Are they taking the debris so people don't find out it's a fucking missile? Maybe.
Any remaining forensic evidence was literally covered up. The videos from security cameras, which would show what really hit the Pentagon, were immediately confiscated.
Again, sorry. Just because some of you all don't know some of this. So there were around 60 plus cameras in that vicinity around the Pentagon that day that could have seen what hit the Pentagon. Guess how many cameras survived? One piece of footage from one camera that day out of the 50, let's say 50 to be safe, 50 plus cameras survived. Survived what? Did they get hit too? The cameras? Did the 50+ cameras get hit? Someone steal the footage? It's ridiculous. It's ludicrous that people believe the official story. That's all I'm saying. There's just too much.
By agents of the FBI.
Scud missile.
Of Justice has to this day refused to release
Godzilla, you a smart motherfucker. You all realize Godzilla is a crazy motherfucker. He can be annoying like me, but he's a smart motherfucker too. Maybe it goes hand in hand. But yeah, eventually another video rose of the Pentagon hit. It was from a second angle, and you can tell, at least in my opinion, Godzilla, that looks like a fucking missile. Actually, look. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, I can't go forward. In that little montage in our intro, I show the second piece of footage of the missile going into the Pentagon. But regardless, let's go.
If these videos would prove that the Pentagon was really hit by a 757, most of us would assume
the
government would
hell, that's another angle. Godzilla's showing me an image. Hell, that's another angle. So there are 3 out there floating. I've seen at least 2 others compared to that one. Crazy. Nuts. Moving on. Yes, thank you, Godzilla. Thank you. Shanksville. All right, who asked earlier about Pennsylvania? Addie. Okay, Addie, this is about Pennsylvania. It might not be Pennsylvania. It's Shanksville. I think it was. Let's see. But some of you probably don't remember this shit. Can we alert Addie? Can we have an Addie check? What the fuck is the Addie check? Is there an Addie check? Oh, yeah, we don't have that shit in here.
It looks like there's nothing there.
All right, yeah, hold on. I want to make sure Addie's here. Because a lot of people don't know about this 4th plane that was hijacked. I feel like this was meant for something else, or this is what was supposed to sell the story of the tragic people who died that day being heroes and taking over the cockpit, but they weren't able to save the plane. You know, you hear that, the hero story. I want to impress something on you all, just real quick, and this does go with what we're talking about. 2 things. If you all only knew how much we've been lied to, not just about 9/11, but every goddamn thing you could even imagine, history, food, everything, religion, everything. If you could only, and I can't, it's too much for the human brain to realize, but if you could only realize a modicum of how much you've been lied to your whole life, your parents, your grandparents, probably before that, and if you actually gave a shit about it, you'd probably become a Ted Kaczynski. That's what happens. You get pushed too far, and you have ethics or standards or whatever the fuck, and you start fighting back. Again, not saying to fight back, totally illegal, but I wish we could understand how much we've been lied to. It's almost unfathomable. But one day, if you let it happen, it'll hit you, and you'll realize just how much you've been lied to. And it's absurd. It's unfathomable. It's just crazy.
Except for a hole in the ground.
Yep, Addie. So 2 planes in the World Trade, 1 in the Pentagon, and 1 here in Shanksville. Let's hear what they have to say about the 4th one. 4th supposed plane.
Basically, that's right. The only thing you could see from where we were was a big gouge in the earth and some broken trees. We could see some people walking around in the area, but from where we could see, there wasn't much left.
Any large pieces of debris at all?
No, there was nothing that you could distinguish that a plane had crashed there.
Oh my God, I am muted. I'm sorry. I was going to say, thank you. They don't talk about Shanksville very much. We can watch it again. Yeah, let's just watch it again real quick. I apologize. I'm trying not to cough in y'all's ears because I am in the train tonight. Ooh, boy. Hey, boy. Yeah, it was only a minute. Let's go back. It's trying to be succinct. There's a lot of shit to have to do with this one. Let's watch it again. So it showed one example of a plane crash of a commercial plane. Then it showed the plane crash of Shanksville. And as you can see, it's quite different. There's a lot more to it. Let's just move at a steady pace. Thank you. Thank you.
It looks like there's nothing there except for a hole in the ground.
Basically, that's right. The only thing you could see from where we were was
it looked like, one of the quotes is, it looks like someone just dropped a couple pieces of small metals
in the earth and some broken trees. We could see some people walking around.
I think it was the mafia and the feds.
From where we could see, there wasn't much left.
Any large pieces of debris at all?
No, there was nothing that you could distinguish that
they never found a body. There was never a body. Like, I don't know how officially they sold that. That's why most people don't know about it. They couldn't sell it very well. But they claimed there were like 200 people in that plane. But they didn't find one body. One drop of blood. A fuselage. They didn't find any of that shit. And then there's the Nigerian plane crash, just an example, versus the Shanksville crash, which is literally a hole and some like small bits of metal and burnt trees. What the fuck? But again, you don't hear much about it. Moving on. Ah, yes, the meat. World Trade Towers 1, 2, and 7. When they say never forget, when the true patriots say never forget, we mean never forget World Trade Center 7. Because when you add that in the equation, nothing makes fucking sense. Actually, it makes sense, but not according to the official story.
Pancake theory.
Godzilla.
According to which
Godzilla is saying some weird shit, but I've seen footage of those people being taken off that plane, and they were never seen again. That's some sick shit. Imagine if you just found out and you had evidence that the government stole 200 Americans to lie to the American people about this. And again, that's just one little tiny dot of this whole fucking picture we're painting here.
Fires,
Crazy
while not
shit.
melting the steel, heated it up sufficiently to cause the floors weakened by the airplane strike.
Boba, they're going to go into the
the
engineering and stuff. This is very important. This is more having to do with actual physics, engineering. So for those that are more level-headed, that don't like theories, that like to compare and contrast within reality, let's see what these people have to say. Some of these people are known engineers and architects and shit. They should know what the fuck's going on. Nessie, if anyone's interested, there are declassified documentaries released last year. Oh, really? The only summary I've found about is the Saudi Arabian government being involved. Well, finally, they at least admit that. I'm going to have to look into that. That probably ain't kosher. Oh, you're level-headed. You most level-headed one here. And that's scary. All right, here we go.
From the steel columns, and this started a chain reaction.
So you would expect then from that theory, which is the official theory, to see a whole stack of floors piled up on top of each other, and then a spindle of core columns standing too.
The core
columns.
of each of the twin towers.
Core columns, the big-ass obelisk pillars that are essential for skyscrapers. They go many, many feet in the ground, okay? So for them to topple over or anything like that, the Earth would have to move with them. Keep that in mind.
Consisted of 47 massive steel columns. If the floors had broken loose from
47 of them.
These columns would have still been sticking up into the air 1,000 feet.
The plane did not cut all those core columns.
We designed the buildings to take the impact of the Boeing 707.
Oh my God! This part is so important, you all. I am so sorry. I'm really excited right now. This we're getting to the meat of tonight. It literally interviews people who fucking built the World Trade Centers and stuff. Listen to just. I'm going to actually mute myself for this part. I want you all to really take in what these people have to say. This is probably, in my opinion, the most important part of the 9/11 doc is the actual architects talking and stuff like that. I can't express how important this is.
The floors piled up on top of each other, and then a spindle of core columns standing too.
The core of each of the twin towers consisted of 47 massive steel columns. If the floors had broken loose from them, these columns would have still been sticking up into the air 1,000 feet.
The plane did not cut all those core columns.
We designed the buildings to take the impact of the Boeing 707 hitting the building at any location.
The building probably could sustain
multiple impacts of jetliners.
The plane flew straight into the building.
Through him, right.
So you're saying that the building was actually designed to cope with a hole like that and then still survive?
Yeah, it was.
If you had dropped, say, a billiard ball from the top of the World Trade Center, 110 floors up there, it would have taken 8 to 10 seconds to hit the ground, encountering no resistance whatsoever.
The Twin Towers came down in nearly free fall speed.
Free fall
200,000
speed.
tons of
Keep
steel
that in mind. Free
shatters
fall.
and explodes outwards over 500 feet.
This means that floors shattered at an average rate of about 10 floors per second.
There is no scenario for a pancake effect of buildings falling that allows them to fall at the rate of free fall.
Now, what can do that? What can move mass out of the way? Explosives.
What can move mass out of the way to achieve free fall speed? Explosive. Look, you can see fucking explosions going on.
47 huge steel columns going up the core. They're interconnected. How do you get them to fail simultaneously so the core disappears? It looks like those core columns were cut.
The way we do this is by cutting the beam at an angle.
At an angle. At an angle. At an angle. I'm getting cold chills right now. I wish I could feel what you all were feeling if you're feeling something. Controlled demolitionists talking about you have to cut the core columns at an angle to achieve free fall speed to be able to move stuff out of the way with demolitions. This is one of the core columns seen after the World Trade Center. A fucking diagonal, straight diagonal line with, and if you don't know what all that molten magma is, molten magma, molten steel. You know one of the only demolitions that can cause molten fucking steel? What is it, Godzilla? I'm going to wait. Godzilla, what's one of the only demolitions to be able to cause steel to turn into molten magma? It certainly ain't fucking jet fuel, I'll tell you that. It ain't fucking papers catching on fire. Boba, you fucking... Can we get a clap for Boba? Fucking thermite. That is essential. I'm sorry, I'm yelling tonight. I told you all this is a heavy subject for me. It's thermite. Fucking thermite. Thermite. I don't think the plane was carrying thermite, and they landed in the building and carried it down to the base, cut the beams with thermite. It's asinine how much people believed the official story. Let's move on. I know I said I'd mute myself. I'm trying. This shit is so important. Thermite. 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 Nessie, it probably will go into this literally right now. It's a very specific type of demolition tool, you could call it. It's a reaction. It's a chemical reaction that literally turns steel into molten magma, as you can see here. As you can see here. As you can see here. Now, I bring up, now that's dried molten magma, but there are examples that you'll be able to see here of molten magma coming out of the fucking building. Was there a volcano going off under the World Trade Center? Like, seriously. Come on, man.
I started looking at the molten...
I get you, Nessie. It still doesn't numb me.
All
It
three
just,
buildings, both towers.
what they got away with. I'm going to start crying. When I first watched this back in the day, when the hobo gave me this, you all know that story. Some of you know that story. When the hobo gave me this disc and I watched it for the first time, I was bawling my eyes out at the end of this 9/11 documentary because I had finally realized all this shit I had thought prior, not necessarily so deep, that we were being lied to in multiple levels. This was just, I don't know, this like awoke me to understanding how deep the lies can go and that everyone's complicit and they don't even fucking know it. Oh my God. If I cry tonight, maybe we'll get some subs or followers. You know, people love that.
In the rubble, in the basement areas, and Building 7, there's these pools of molten metal.
Under World Trade Center 7, there was also... Look, for well over 6 weeks after the collapse, hot spots of over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit were documented. Jet fuel doesn't burn that fucking high. That is 500 degrees hotter than jet fuel even burns. Not woke, but awake. You got that right, Nessie. Two very different things. They stole our term, by the way. They stole our term, and they're using it against us. The true awake people were 9/11ers and shit.
Get down below and you'd see molten steel. Molten steel running down the channel.
Burn your dick off.
Like you're in a foundry.
Like you're in a foundry. Like a volcano.
Was found 3, 4, and 5 weeks later, when the rubble was being removed. He said that molten steel was also found underneath World Trade Center 7.
So I'm looking through the official reports. What do they say about the molten metal?
What do they say?
They say nothing.
They say nothing.
Wait a minute. This is important evidence. So where'd that come from?
Where did it come from? Here you go, Nessie. Thermite.
Thermite.
It's an explosive incendiary. This is where it goes into it. For those wondering what the fuck a thermite is. No, leave me alone. I want to stick on topic, please. But thermite, let's look into it.
It's so hot that it'll just cut through steel, through structural steel, for example, like a knife through butter. The products are molten iron and aluminum oxide, which goes off primarily as a dust.
As a dust.
You know those enormous dust clouds? You can imagine when.
So, do you all remember the example I gave of the building in China burned? It was black, right? Usually the smoke that comes off a burning building is black. Normally. Excuse me. World Trade Center, very, very white. Uh-oh. Is that it's that racial tension again.
You assemble these chemicals on a large scale.
Through electron microscope analysis of the melted WTC steel in the iron-rich microspheres in the dust, Dr. Jones, a physics professor, found exact traces of not only the thermite explosive compound, he found evidence of thermite, but due to the high sulfur content, thermite, a patented brand of thermite used in the demolition, or thermate. It was actually not just thermite, it was thermate, a very specific compound, patented brand of thermite used in the demolition industry specifically. This man is probably dead. There you go. Are you happy now? And most of these professionals that had a different narrative or story to the official one were usually either blacklisted or killed. And they ain't a fucking lie. You can look it up. Look up all these people's names that have said all these things. See where they are now. That's how scary this shit is.
Molten metal pools under both towers after they collapsed, and Building 7. Now, Building 7 wasn't even hit by a jet.
Look
Part
at that.
of the problem
Look
is
at
that
that.
most people simply don't know
Look
much
at that.
about building.
Did you see the way that fell? No, most people have never seen that footage of World Trade Center 7 falling. The way it falls, the way it indents on itself and goes down is 100% controlled demolition. You cannot dispute that.
Building 7 due to the extraordinary secrecy surrounding this collapse.
And this was a 47-story
Nice.
skyscraper. This building fell at 5:25.
It was not hit by a plane. This building had fires on only 2 or 3 floors.
And it was brought down by what we know was a controlled demolition.
Demolitions, they look just like
Look at
that. You know, a kink in the middle.
Kink in
and
the
then
middle.
That building just comes straight down, almost at free fall speed.
Free fall
They
speed.
first blow one of
That's
the
the
central
most
column.
important. Edward Snowden and Alex Jones was talking about free fall speed back in the day. But they're crazy. I mean, they're crazy, yeah. But.
So the building falls in on itself. Building 7 had a classic crimp or wedge. Its central column was blown out first, so it didn't structurally damage buildings
Structurally
just a few feet away from it.
Look at that. You're telling me You're telling me the terrorists were such kind people on the inside that when they hit the buildings, even buildings that they didn't hit, they knew they were going to fall. They were so nice that they wanted to make sure the buildings fell right on top of themselves at free fall speed, so it didn't structurally damage many other buildings. Of course, some other buildings did get hit by falling debris, and stuff. But other than those 3 buildings, 1, 2, and 7, none of the other buildings really caught on fire, didn't really fall down. None of them fell down. Maybe like a little fucking 1-story bakery or something right under it, but you're telling me the terrorists were concerned that much with insurance policies in America that they wanted to destroy these buildings in a way? Am I getting through to you? I'm not saying you all are stupid. I'm just being passionate here. Like, it's absurd. It's asinine. I'm not watching it, Nessie. Nope, ain't watching it. Ain't doing it. Going back. It's absurd. Yeah, they said the reason for all 3 towers was because of fire damage. And I've already shown you examples that fire damage does not usually destroy skyscrapers because of the way they're built. They are built to withstand wind, fire, planes hitting them. The only things that can really take down a fucking skyscraper is a tsunami, a giant-ass tornado or hurricane, or dynamite, or an explosive. Not a fucking plane or a fire. Never before, and this is true, I've looked, never before or after 9/11 has any still building collapsed from a fire. That would take a lot of research right there to look up every instance, but I guarantee you 99% of the buildings that were made of steel, yes, have never collapsed because of a fire. I know, I'm just... You know, the CTO is for getting serious. It's for getting hard. Oh, here we go. Where's Alcatraz? Alcatraz, they're talking about the basement, the sub-basement explosions. No one ever talks about those. Let's see.
Our office was on the B1 level.
Sub-basement explosions that happened before the first plane even hit. Acid Traz.
I was talking to a supervisor at 846, and all of a sudden we hear, boom! An explosion so hard that pushed us upwards. And it came from the basement between the B2 level and the B3 level.
This is a survivor of the Twin Towers who has gone on record stating they felt an explosion hit below them that pumped them up into the air before any plane hit above them. Whatever that was, I don't know. Let's see.
And when I went to verbalize, we hear, boom! The impact of the plane on the top.
Almost simultaneously.
As I'm walking by the main freight car of the building in the corridor.
Here's another firefighter.
That's when I got blown.
He got blown.
The impact of the explosion.
Oh, of the impact of the explosion.
And that's when everything started happening. All of a sudden, a big impact happened again.
Hey, he could be in gay porn. Look at him. He could go to the Ram Ranch. Okay, sorry, back on track.
You know, you got to go clear across the whole from 1 to 2 World Trade Center. And then all of a sudden, it happened all over again.
It happened twice to both.
To the floor,
he said.
right in the basement. You felt
they were in the basement.
In, everything that was going on. I mean, I know people that got killed in the basement. I know people that got broken legs in the basement. People that got reconstructed.
Why were there explosions going on in the basement? How did a plane cause explosions in the basement? Again, I'm waiting. I want to know. All right, get this shit. Addy. Where's Addy? I was talking about this earlier. NORAD. So what? Where was our multi-billion-dollar air defense system? What was going on? Was everyone asleep? Was everyone out to lunch? Were they blowing each other off? No. On the exact day of 9/11, guess what a majority of the NORAD fleet was doing? Okay?
According to standard operating procedure,
maybe later,
if an FAA flight control
maybe later. We're going too hard right now.
Suggests a possible hijacking. The controller is to contact a superior. If the problem cannot be fixed within about a minute, the superior is to ask NORAD, the North American Aerospace Command, to send up or scramble jet fighters to find out what is going on. NORAD then issues the scramble order to the nearest Air Force base with fighters on alert. But although interceptions usually occur within 10 or so minutes, in this case, 80 or so minutes had elapsed before fighters were even airborne.
It's a mind-bending anomaly. Not a single U.S. Air Force interceptor turns a wheel until it's too late. There are no jets at all.
Pittsburgh.
What if they
crash
were so
happened in
confused
Pittsburgh
and had been so
Pittsburgh.
deliberately confused that they couldn't respond? The reason that they didn't know where to go was because a number of conflicting and overlapping war game exercises were taking place. It involved the insertion of false radar blips onto radar screens in the Northeast Air Defense Sector.
Center Team U, we have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York. We need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out.
Is this real world or exercise? Is this real world or exercise?
Just keep watching.
There was another exercise, Vigilant Warrior, which was, in fact, according to a NORAD source, a live-fly hijack drill being conducted at the same time. With only 8 available fighter aircraft, and they have to be dispatched in pairs, they were dealing with as many as 22 possible hijacks on the day of 9/11, and they couldn't separate the war game exercises from the actual hijacks.
To sum that up, one example is like, oh, they're just lazy. They're lazy. What they were saying is within 60 seconds of seeing an anomaly, and they keep track of this. They got hundreds of people that look at these blips and shit all day, every day. within 60 seconds of an anomaly of a plane not supposed to be going where it's going, etc., they call out and scramble F-16s. And within 10 minutes, based on prior drills and stuff, they were able to usually neutralize a threat within 10 minutes. It took over 90 minutes, which was around the same time the Twin Towers finally fell, for NORAD to finally scramble. Not because of necessarily being lazy, they are literally stating that there were over 22 different war exercises going on that day, that most of them had to do with the exact same scenario that was going on during 9/11. Some towers hitting some big buildings in a city. They even had Alaskan mock 9/11 drills on the exact same day too, which means we didn't have all of our Air Force in America at the time, or at least in mainland America. Some of our actual, what do they call it? It's not a fleet. Whatever. Armada. Our actual armada, some of it was up in Alaska. So not only did they have conflicting reports of drills that were doing the exact same thing that 9/11 was doing, some of our military wasn't even present. All on the same day, bro. Huh? That sounds a little planned to me. Huh? I'm not, Addy. I haven't posted on Instagram since that last post. Fuck them. In 2000, NORAD had 67 intercepts within 1 year with 100% accuracy. So pretty good. The very next year, on 9/11, they failed 4 times in the same day. The 4 quote-unquote planes that hit. What are you saying, Nessie? Theorist that we spoke to, not even close. This is someone with direct knowledge of the information that was once again is being withheld from the American public. The answer that we received was unequivocal. Yes, CIA was involved in the assassination of the president. Yeah, it was one of the alphabet mafias. Just because I still have content on there, Addy, and I want people to see it because I spent time on that content. But I'm not like updating it anymore for now. I just don't get enough interaction on there. It's a waste of time. I feel you, Nessie. There's so much. I'm scared of declassified documents, honestly, because they can be declassified, but it doesn't mean that they didn't change what it says, and it doesn't mean you won't see black bars over really important shit, and you're like, I thought it's supposed to be declassified. Well, it is, technically. Nessie, I don't like e-girls or hentai. Yes, fuck you. What? Oh, no, God. Well, you shouldn't have kept it in a jug. Yeah, you love e-girls. What are you talking about? You crazy or something? On the morning of 9/11, Dick Cheney was in charge of all NORAD orders. In at least one of the many war games going on, planes being flown into buildings was a scenario on the exact same day. Now it's about to, so again, we're going over the official story right now and showing that the official story isn't so official, really. We're about to go into like kind of the underside of this. I think this is one of the last ones. The 9/11 Commission. The Ministry of Truth.
Page 172.
Wait, what? What, Eddie? What? Could you use it? Use what? I'm so confused. A DM for me. Wait, what? You can't access Discord? What the fuck are you talking about? You just can't get on it? Nessie, that's a good idea, but let's wait until it's about to end this little part and go into the final part or the second half of the 9/11 stuff. But that's a good idea. Alert me when we get there. But Addy, can you what do you want me to do?
The U.S. government has not been able to determine the origin of the money used for the 9/11 attacks. Ultimately, the question is of little practical significance.
The American authorities have not managed to trace.
So the people who are paying you to do this is of little significance.
And then the most amazingly disingenuous statement, ultimately, is it of little consequence. It is of massive consequence.
Doesn't it matter?
Fuck Twitter. I don't have a Twitter. I got kicked off there too. Yeah, I guess so, Addy. Yeah, if you've got probably got what, Instagram on your phone, whatever. Yeah, if I ever need to contact you, that's a good idea. Thank you for letting me know that. I shall.
Who paid for 9/11?
The collapse of Building 7 has been recognized as especially difficult
you and me
to
both,
explain.
Eddie.
The 9/11 Commission report implicitly admitted that it could not explain the collapse of this building. by not even mentioning it.
President, why are you and the Vice President insisting on appearing together before the 9/11 Commission?
Because the 9/11 Commission wants to ask us questions. That's why we're meeting, and I look forward to meeting with them and answering their questions.
That's a hell of a
appearing
speaker.
together rather than separately, which was their request?
Because it's a good chance for both of us to answer questions that the 9/11 Commission is looking forward to asking us, and I'm looking forward to answering them. Let's see.
Do you think they should be able to stand up and speak their own words?
They should go under oath.
They should be, yeah, in public.
Right, Addie. You like satire like me. You like dark humor, dark satire. We get it. Twitter don't get it, though. Addie! Yeah, don't tread on me on Twitter.
Don't you think that the families deserve to have a transcript or to be able to see what you
Adam,
said?
you asked me that question yesterday.
For an
I
answer
got the
today.
same answer, yeah.
The final report was a unanimous report. That means that if there was a single commissioner who had any objection about anything, that fact would be dropped from the report.
Well, okay, we're not going to go into that subject, but liberals are not the problem, Maddie. You're using the wrong words. Liberals is an actual political side and philosophy. Leftism or neo-democracy is propaganda. But yeah, like Alcatraz said, they're humans. The best way is not to... You can't fight every battle, right? So sometimes you got to hopefully change the mind of your enemy. Diplomacy. Diplomacy's nice. I get Addie's sense of humor, though. I wouldn't take it too personal, Alcatraz. Liberal, I'm a fucking liberal. I'm an actual liberal. The forefathers were liberals. Traditional liberals. Okay? And am I a fucking leftist? Am I a leftist or a liberal? Which one? Because you know what I mean? I'm not really any of that shit. But if you had to, don't tread on me liberal, I'm not a libertarian. I guess if you only thought in three different sides, left, right, and middle, I guess I'd be a libertarian. But I am an actual liberal. Those people are not liberal. They're progressive or regressive. There's a difference. It's a type of propaganda. Talked about this. I don't have an iPhone. No, Addie. No, you must use diplomacy, Addie. You can't fight every battle. See, that's what the enemy wants. They want us fighting. Why do you think the enemy keeps putting us in boxes on CNN and everything? Because they want us fighting. They want tribalism. But, we're getting off subject. Going back to the video.
We have found out that he not only served on the transition team of the Bush administration.
Let me just sum up what I just said. The more you fight each other, the less you'll fight the actual enemy. There you go.
He was a person who wrote a draft memo for the setup of the Bush administration's National Security Council, that he was an individual who wrote the preemptive war strategy that was eventually used for the war in Iraq, that he is a close friend of Condoleezza Rice's. We want him to resign.
There is literally nothing in the 9/11 report that the Bush administration did not approve of.
We can understand, therefore, why the commission, under Zelikow's leadership, would have ignored all the evidence that would point to the truth.
Which is ironic considering he hates
9/11 was a false flag
leftist
operation
extremists.
intended to authorize the doctrines and funds needed for a new level of imperial mobilization.
I think Addie's under the idea of fight fire with fire, which ain't always good. Maybe fire with fire can melt steel beams. Oh, come on, guys. We're trying to talk about 9/11. Not fucking leftist or rightist bullshit. We're not trying to talk about liberals, but, I still think that's funny, but, hell, liberals probably started the tar and feathering back in the day, huh? Against the crown? People of the crown? Thank you, Nessie. Hold on. One more. Okay, I think there's one more word. They're not liberals. You're using the wrong word, my brother. Go look up the word. Teddy Bomber was a liberal. Thomas Paine was a fucking liberal. Benjamin Franklin was a liberal. Okay? You get it now? Thank you, Nessie. More or less, goddamn. Well, he didn't do. He's too retarded to do 9/11, but he was definitely
Armed with
complicit.
knives, armed with chemical, biological, nuclear weapons. Fanatics, terrorists, September 11th. September 11th, killers, September 11th, terrorists. Terrorists of Al-Qaeda, terrorists, nuclear weapons, terrorists. 9/11, terror, terrorist, evil. September 11th, September 11th. The terrorists, war and danger. September 11th, terrorism, global terrorism, terrorism, terrorists, 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 the terror.
Russell Brand is a liberal, and he's not even American. You know what I mean?
Terrorist, terrorism, September 11th, global terrorism, terrorism, September 11th, world terrorism, terrorism, September 11th, global terrorism. September the 11th,
nuclear, tar.
September the 11th, terrorists, the evil terrorists.
All right, so the reason it's doing all this is it showed the definition of what terrorism was, to cause systematic fear in others. And then it's showing you actual examples of terrorism through our ex-president. Thank you, Bush. You were so amazing. Eat shit and die.
Terrorists, no.
Terrorism. The words are hypnotically repeated. Terrorism, terrorist, terrorist threat, and of course, believed to be linked to...
Okay. And to end, can I end Alcatraz's and Addie's little argument real quick? Am I allowed to do that? The British... You know, Russell Brand was part of the enemy. I don't know if he's just a paid shill or he finally woke up and is on our side. I don't know, but let me end this debate real quick about Democrats, liberals, whatever these fucking terms all of us throw around all the time. And this is going to be a subject for one. And Nessie, give me just a second. It's going to be a subject for one episode going forward later. Democracy is Marxism. Take that however you want. Look into it. Specifically, American Democrats, democracy, not all of them, you know what I mean? Not every single person calls himself a Democrat. Because there's levels, like a pyramid, but that's a whole other thing. But democracy is a tool to be used to destabilize countries. It is not a diplomatic thing. Because ever since democracy came into America, guess how many wars we've been a part of? Can you all guess? There were 2 wars before democracy. After democracy, we've been a part of 80 plus fucking wars. Democrats love war. Bush was a fucking Democrat, but he was running the Republican ticket because his daddy. But whether you think you're a Democrat or not, you are being used. Democracy is a tool to destabilize countries. It is a Marxist tactic. Look it up. I used to love Karl Marx. Sorry, Addie. I used to love Karl Marx. But I finally understood the truth behind his truth, and it was not good. And I'm not, but that's a whole other subject. I don't want to talk about politics tonight. We're talking about 9/11. Let's go back.
Al-Qaeda.
But not all democracy can be, okay, let me end that. Democracy can be bad. No, democratic ideals can be bad, but not every Democrat is bad. They're just being used. Is a victim a bad person?
That's in our faces practically 24/7 as the inescapable focus of our existence.
One day, our grandchildren will look back on this time and ask, how was the war on terror won?
The entire U.S. ruling
Democracy
class,
can be good or bad. It's a
elite,
fucking tool.
Comes to
but
see
usually it's a tool
terrorism
for
as the
destabilization.
preferred means, indeed the only means, to provide social cohesion.
If you want another example, ask Afghanistan how they've been doing since democracy. Ask Iraq how they've been doing since democracy. Ask Pakistan how they've been doing since democracy. Moving on.
To provide an enemy image for the society to keep it together. According to neocon theory from Carl Schmitt, you have to have an enemy image in order to have a society. It's a very dangerous thing because now it means that the entire social order...
No, I understand. No, Addie, I do understand that. But some people don't have people around them to help them wake up. And that's not necessarily their fault. Because how would you even think to know something if you never even really heard about it? Or I don't know. That's a whole other subject. That's a good subject we could go over.
Politics in general.
That'll be very
all
hot.
Based on a
we'll definitely get
monstrous
banned.
myth. Monstrous myth.
Thank you, Nessie. Thank you. Well, Marxism, commies, same thing. Although the word communism is also misused. Very misused. It's not communism. It's Bolshevism. It's Marxism. They just use these terms, to control people. technique used by governments to manipulate public opinion in order to further their agenda. COVID comes into mind. You know how much fear they sowed with COVID? Whether it was real or not, they sowed a lot of fear.
The CIA has done in this country, what they've done to us is unbelievable. Look at the terrorist acts that have occurred. The CIA...
Yeah, isms are just a control mechanism. It's just black and white thinking, and it sucks. You can't do that. You can do that with some things, but not with people.
Behind most, if not all of them.
Maybe with what people do,
Barracks,
but not people
their embassy
themselves.
in Kenya.
Because actions are a little different than thoughts.
We had the USS Cole. We had Oklahoma City. We had the World Trade Center in 1993.
That helped the terrorists blow up the World Trade Center the first time. They built the bomb.
You know what, Addy? You know what another ironic thing is, Addy? You and Alcatraz probably have more in common than you think. Probably not with certain things, but in all honesty, most people want the same fucking thing. Most people don't want to be used by others. Most people don't want to be lied to. Most people don't want to just labor their life away. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or whatever the fuck, most people want the same fucking things. And I have an inkling, if we weren't infighting, we would be fighting the enemy. Ask Patch. Patch was part of the Occupy movement. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember when all sides came together for the Occupy movement and they snuffed that out because that was actually a real fucking movement. Another subject for another day.
The driver's license.
The informant, the informant, a fellow named Salam, a 43-year-old former Egyptian army officer, he was given the assignment to put the bomb together, and he went to his supervisor, his FBI supervisor, and said, we're going to put a dummy bomb in.
Baby dragon. Ooh, we got a baby dragon slayer. A baby dragon slayer. Welcome to the dojo.
Konnichiwa, Baby Dragon Slayer. Thank you for joining the gaming dojo.
Baby Dragon Slayer. Yes, thank you. I don't know if any of the other sounds went off. We're having some. This is kind of a new show we're doing here in the Ronin Yeti Twitch channel. Thank you for coming in. We're talking hard and fast about 9/11. There's a lot of shit to talk about. We're kind of getting off track. Hey, what's going on? We're kind of getting off track here, but we're trying to go into the second part of the documentary Zeitgeist that has to do with 9/11 theories, truths, etc. And we're finding a lot of evidence against the official story, let me tell you. But thank you for coming in. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
You're right. And the FBI supervisor said, no, we're going to put a real...
Alcatraz, yeah, exactly. It is. I wouldn't even call it a bird. It's like the two sides of the same toilet. Hey, thanks for coming in. So normally we play games, we got lore, we do this and that. We have a crazy fucking time. But with our CTO, Conveying the Obvious podcast, it's very different than what you normally see here in the dojo, the gaming dojo. So if you don't like this shit, maybe you'll like the other shit. But again, thank you for coming in.
Actually carried out the attack on the World Trade Center in 1993.
Yeah, none of that stuff works. The only stuff that works is this. CTO, again, we're different. It's a podcast.
Real explosives.
I don't want to have all these sound effects in a podcast.
Detonator, and told him to build a bomb and to give it to the foolish people that he was controlling to allow them to attack the World Trade Center complex.
Unfortunately for them, there were only 6 people killed, not enough to pass the legislation.
Well, okay, I don't agree with that. Like, true Republicans are like liberals. They didn't want to be ruled by the crown. Don't tread on me. True free enterprise. But the Republican Party, once the Democrat Party came into play a little bit before, hold on. Well, Nessie, hold on. You are a mod. You all are mods. You all need to stop talking about this shit. You know I'm going to talk about it. But true Republicans are like traditional liberals, okay? The neocons, the modern Republicans, at least during the Bush reign and before, were all about war. But again, it was more of the Democrats pushing it. But no, the fucking Republicans are all about industrialism, crony capitalism, and war. So both sides are shit. Stop thinking one side or the other. You're better than that. We're all better than that. Stop thinking in black and white when it comes to ideologies. Thinking is not black and white. Actions are, usually. You know what I mean?
So what happened is 2 years later...
And Alcatraz, I've tried to tell that to Addy. It is a good point. If you always think you're right, you're probably wrong. You got to at least be a little bit... The possibility of you a little bit being wrong. It helps. It helps. Trust me. Addy. I love you. I'm going to help you.
April 1995...
He says that shit to me, Alcatraz, as well. The master of the dojo, so don't even worry about it.
1 year later, the anti-terrorism legislation that takes away our
they both suck ass.
Civil
all right,
is
that's
passed.
But they both suck ass. Conservatism is different than being a Republican. Addie's a conservative. Addie's not a Republican. He just don't know it yet. Most people are conservative. Most people just want to make money to survive, have a family, or just have fun within your confines of wherever you live. That's conservatism. Or it was. That got fucked up too. The neocons fucked it up. Oh, I'll help you, Addie. I'm your friend. You will take help from me because I'm your friend. Like, you can be conservative with liberal ideas. That's usually the best. If you live conservatively, conserving nature, conserving resources, conserving, you know, like traditions or whatever. Some traditions are bad, obviously.
Because at 9:30 this morning, we were
But
actually
then if
running
you
an
can
exercise
think outside
for
the box,
a company of
you
1,000
can integrate
people in
that
London,
into your life.
based on simultaneous bombs going off precisely at the railway stations that happened this morning. So I still have the hairs on the back of my neck standing upright.
To get this quite straight, you were running an exercise to see how you would cope with this, and it happened while you were running the exercise.
Precisely.
Again, it's the whole black and white. They're going to lump liberals, leftists, and Democrats in the same thing, and they're going to lump conservatives, Republicans, and fascists in the same fucking thing. It's all different shit. It's all very different shit.
On the same targets, the same kind of tube stations, and exactly the same time as the actual attack happened, providing some kind of cover for what must be operations orchestrated in some way by the state.
All right, wrap it up. All right, there we go, Nessie. I think we can take a little halftime break. All right, so that was the 9/11 myth. We're taking just a break right now. We're going to go into the 9/11 truth, evidential truth. Other than the infighting in the chat, I want to hear what you all have to say. I think I've said more than enough. Let's wrap it up. I want to hear what have you all learned? What maybe do you now think of differently than you did before with the thermite bombing, controlled demolition, the hijackers not really being dead and being students at local universities? And what do you think about some of this shit? We don't have to talk about everything, but like Nessie said, let's kind of wrap up that first half. What do y'all think? Oh my God, 48 messages were deleted. Alcatraz banned him? Oh, come on, Alcatraz. Again? Unban him. Unban him. What do you say? You know he just gets fucking angry. He's autistic, Addy. Or Alcatraz. Now I'm getting you confused. I'm trying, Addy. I'm trying. Oh, I think, Addy, he's just wanting you to cool down. Because, again, we're all on the same side here. We're all on the same side here in the dojo. We're trying to fight a common enemy. Ignorance. Ignorance is the common enemy. He's worth it to me, Alcatraz. I love Addy. You should unban him. Yeah, I'm getting deja vu here. Unban him in like 5 minutes. Let him cool down just for a second. See, I know where Addy's heart is. He just doesn't verbally convey it very well. He's very radical. He's a very radical, passionate man, Alcatraz. He's very passionate like yours truly over here. All right, but yeah, please. Enough of the infighting. Do y'all want to talk about the first half? Any questions? Any advice? Anything that I didn't say that you caught? Goddamn, I know you got a lot to say. I didn't know before that people believed that Saudi Arabian government was involved. Yeah, they were. It's weird. And the money made sense, especially with the Bush family. Because the Bush family, like they had said, had many meetings with the Saudi Arabian government weeks and months prior to the attack. One of the prevailing theories in certain circles is it was a Mossad operation carried out using Saudi Arabian money. Or the reverse. Mossad, Israel, paid for it to the Saudis, who then helped orchestrate it. But I don't exactly believe that theory. Because I don't believe airliner planes hit anything. I don't believe the 4 planes were even, I don't believe any of them were actual airliner jets with people in them. That's what I'm thinking, Nessie. And it gave them a reason to go over to the Middle East because it was a half-truth, right? The Middle East bombed us. Well, when it was actually the Saudi Arabian royal family that apparently was involved. And, yeah, they love to spread half-truths. Usually the half of the truth is what gets you emotionally, and the other half is the actual physical lie. That's what a half-truth normally is, from what I've seen. So it's wild. It really is. And again, we can't 100% prove a lot of this. And if we wanted to, we would have to do deep dives. We might have to have deep dive episodes in CTO where we don't watch and talk about things we necessarily know. We actually deep dive and find out things that either I don't already know, you all don't already know. We do it in real time. But with these first several episodes, and Addy, you're unbanned, by the way. Be nice. Be nice, Addy. We're all friends. I love Alcatraz, and I love you. So be nice to one each other. For me, please. For me. Pretty please for me. But, yeah. So basically, we paid the Saudi government to intervene on our behalf. See, I'm not 100% certain how the Saudis were involved, but the Bush family and the Saudi Arabian royal family, what resource did they both very much like and were probably in bed with? And what resource did we eventually get from Iraq, Pakistan, and Afghanistan? One word. What resource? What resource ties all of them together? It's a 3-letter word now. Oil. Now, later on in years, yeah, oil, exactly. It all connects, at least on the money side and the location side where the resource is. So 9/11, in my opinion, happened so they could go into and destabilize the Middle Eastern countries. Because at the time, which is a part of the last thing of Zeitgeist, which is about banks and money, a lot of Middle Eastern countries didn't have a world central bank. That was part of the Bank of Switzerland, the Bank of Europe, the Bank of America. They had their own central banks with their own currencies. We don't like that sort of thing. We don't like currencies actually being equated to anything. It used to be the gold standard, and more often than not, any country you go to, they don't longer have a gold standard. That's a whole other fucking thing. I think she's been lurking. But it really all ties together, and it ties together in layers. It's not just like one continuous line, if you had to visualize it, lining up and connected. It's like I've kind of said before, it's one of those images that, and when the old, like, maze map, I keep saying I'm sorry. It's like one of those, I said it again. It is one of those things where you make an image from dots that you connect with lines. Do you ever do that as a kid? In like a coloring book or something? That's how I visualize it. Because you're not going in a straight line. You're making a picture. And it's really hard to see what kind of picture you're making until you connect a lot of lines. No, not woke, V. Awake. I told you. They stole our word and rebranded it. You got to be awake. Not woked. Woke-did. You know, V's got a weird sleeping schedule. I've been trying to keep to my new sleeping schedule. Anyway, but okay. Does anyone else want to talk about anything we just went over? We had evidence, visual evidence of thermite being used on World Trade Center core pillars for the buildings. We have evidence that all 3 of the buildings fell at free fall speed, which can only be achieved physically through controlled demolition. We found evidence that hijackers were not all dead, and they weren't even they were like born in America. They weren't even, yeah. We found out a lot. If we're going to take all that as truth, we found out a lot. And I'm not saying all that was true, but very compelling nonetheless. All right. We're about 2 hours in. I think we're going to wrap up tonight's episode at least before the 3-hour mark. We're going pretty fast, even with all the bumps. Summary. The official story was disproven based on experts in their fields. Yes, each field, not just Bush telling us, not even under oath, what we're supposed to believe. Plus, declassified documentation proved otherwise. Exactly. All right, so we disproved, or this video rather, seemed to be able to disprove a lot of the myths from the official story. So, in our later half of our podcast tonight, let's look more into what the truths truly are. Thank you. Thank you. Criminal elements within the U.S. government staged a false flag, another meme word that's been destroyed over the years, a false flag attack. Those happen a lot, more than you might think. Terror attack on its own citizens in order to manipulate public perception into supporting its warlike agenda. Yep, sounds about right. They have been doing these for many, many years, and they've been doing them since. 9/11 was an inside job. Dun, dun, dun.
I am absolutely appalled at how much people in this country do.
Where's your mother tonight, Nessie? This is Jordan Maxwell talking right now, by the way. Jordan Maxwell, they used a lot of his, a lot of things he said that was recorded in this documentary. Amazing dude. Sadly, he just died, last year, a couple years ago? Lost another true one. Another true boo. True boo.
Not think. We are given to understand that an Arabic guy out there up in the mountains financed the most elaborate attack on this country.
Do you think some people in a cave were able to have NORAD stand down? Do you think that people in a cave were able to have all of this happen?
And when I think about
people in a cave,
Americans
yeah, it was Alex
were
Jones.
killed in New York City, and believing as I do that this thing was a setup job, this is a textbook operation that Nazis used, and they've used it over and over again.
I don't know if they go into that in this. If they don't, we'll have to talk about it later, but Hitler did the same fucking thing. He burnt down one of his own federal buildings. And now a lot of you probably know about this. He had his soldiers burn down a federal building and blamed it on Poland or France or something just to invade them. Ever heard of Project Paperclip? No? Yes? We'll go into that later too.
Yeah.
Another episode.
America has been suckered in one more time.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad.
I love that movie.
The
We'll have
dollar
to watch
buys a
that
nickel's
fucking movie.
worth.
What this
Banks
is from.
are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter.
Network.
Punks are running.
That Network,
Wild in the street.
1976 Network. It's a movie, 1976. One of the most, in my opinion, one of the most compelling fictional movies about what's really going on, or at least what was going on then and still going on now when it comes to countries, war, propaganda. An amazing film. Some of you have probably seen GIFs or memes from the movie or heard lines from it, but it's here, let me add that to the list real quick. It's a fantastic movie. We'll have to watch it for a watch party. Add Network to watch party list. Yeah, that's a good one. First, you gotta get mad. You gotta say, I'm a human being, god damn it! My life has value! Love it. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell in your ear.
There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do.
Oh,
and
yeah,
there's no
watch
end
party
to
list
it.
too, maybe.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
I want you to get
I
mad.
don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressmen because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad.
First.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
That gives me cold chills every fucking time I hear that. You have to first get mad. You have to stop being apathetic. To face these truths, you have to stop making jokes. It only serves to destroy you. Hence why I like Addie's anger, but it's kind of not exactly perfect.
It's really bad. It's black. It's iron. My wife thinks I'm alright. I told her and said I was leaving the building. I was fine. I'm bang.
Damn, Nessie. Where the hell did you get that? The death of the human soul is agreeability. In some respects, yeah, especially if you're going down a bad path, it's self-destructive. Complicitness. Being complicit to atrocities does not make you a hero. Nice.
When hostilities commenced in Europe in 1939, it was realized that the American people had no intention of entering the war. But they believed that this country could be enticed into the war
September
in very
11th,
much the same way that it was
1941.
enticed into the
No,
last
that
one.
is not a fucking joke. Listen to this.
They planned, first, to prepare the United States for foreign war under the guise of American defense. Second, to involve us in the war, step by step, without our realization. Third, to create a series of incidents which would force us into the actual conflict. These plans were, of course, to be covered and assisted by the full power of their propaganda. Our theaters...
Well, here's an example of that. If most women, and not all countries and cultures, made women into like secondhand citizens, that's propaganda. That is absolute fucking bullshit. Not every civilization has done that. And hell, some civilizations still do that. Some cultures still do that to this day. Not in America. But an example I was just thought of is that if the women, let's just say the women of America, before women's suffrage, decided to stay agreeable to everything that was going on, women still wouldn't be able to vote. Now, some of you might not like women voting, which is a terrible thing to think. Not all women just think with their emotions, because when you're voting for bills, you don't want to implement too many emotions. It's got to be, based on infallible bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, I mean, that's just an example of being agreeable, being complicit to something you don't necessarily agree with. It doesn't help you. It helps you get through the day to day, and that's it. It helps you to the grave easier. Is that what y'all want? You want to be handheld straight into the grave by the enemy that hates you? I don't. Don't be so agreeable. It's okay. It's okay to not agree all the time. You can have preferences. Preferences don't make you a racist, a homophobe, a leftist, a whateverist, isms and is. It just means you have preferences, and that's okay. Jesus Christ. I shouldn't even have to say that.
Some became filled with plays portraying the glory of war. Newsreels lost all semblance of objectivity. And they have used the war to justify the restriction of congressional power and the assumption of dictatorial procedures on the part of the president and his appointees. A fear campaign was inaugurated. We cannot allow the natural passions and prejudices of other peoples to lead our country to destruction.
Oh my God. Yep. And that was the emotional climax of part 2, Zeitgeist. The third part being, don't mind the men behind the curtain. This is how it ties a lot of what we've heard together. And it's a fucking doozy. And we'll be looking into that next time for CTO, probably next week. I think next Sunday. But yeah, that's it for this part of Zeitgeist. We can still talk. We still got a little while to go if we don't want to get out of here early. But, and there's so much more. Like, I have images I was going to show you all of other evidence of 9/11 being weird. But I mean, there's just so much shit, man. It's crazy. He said something along the lines of history is full of lines of people who were the exact opposite of agreeable with their situation. How would history have been written had they denied their given role? Well, I'm logging off. Addy, thank you so much for coming in, brother. I appreciate it. It's been a hell of a night. I feel like there's a lot we could talk about, though. If you want to stay in here, we can definitely talk. We just need to stay on subject. for tonight's topic. That's all I ask. We can talk about other stuff too, but I'd really like to stay on topic. And I fucking hate this lamp over here. But yeah, if you got to go, brother, thank you for coming in. So, it happened, right? Whether the official story is true, whether the official story is untrue, 9/11 happened, and now we live in 2023. It's been 22 years. Almost to the day, kind of. So like what I like to do in CTO is, instead of just bringing up problems, feeling bad about them, and bitching about them and stuff, I don't like to just end there. I like to go to solutions, whether they're physical solutions we can enact, whether they're mental solutions we can like deal. I don't want to cope. I don't want us to cope with this shit. I want us to deal with this shit. That's the most preferable thing I could ask for in various ways. Again, I'm not saying to send a bomb to a federal building near you. It's totally illegal. Don't do that. Oh, Nessie, hold on. Let's get a little bit happy. Let's watch Trevor Moore's his take on 9/11. You see those two penis towers? This is a good segue. Here we go. It's not all about 9/11, but he brings up 9/11 so nonchalantly. You're like, oh shit. Oh shit. Rest in peace, Trevor. The thing he said at the end that they were paid off. Yeah, Silverstein, and I'm surprised. I think it's in the second Zeitgeist video. I think they talk more about 9/11. But Silverstein, he had stakes. He was either an investor or a CEO, something about the World Trade Center. I'd have to go look it up. I haven't seen it in a while. But he pulled out an insurance claim that can be proven a week before 9/11 happened, and they paid out double. So it was a good business move to destroy those buildings. Fuck if 3,000 people were in there. Damn it. The good ones always die young. Or sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're just lucky. Yeah. Fucking, I don't think y'all are ready for Hodge twins. I mean, y'all think I'm fucking nuts. Y'all think I'm nuts and I'm brash. Nah, I don't think y'all are ready. I don't think y'all are just ready for Hodgie. The Hodge boys and their unique perspective on life and love. A lot of both. Y'all ain't ready for Hodge. But yeah, folks, that's our third episode. I don't know if we're leaving. I think we're gonna leave here in a minute. A lot of information has been impressed on you all. It's up to you to question it. It's up to you to look into it if you're interested. But to end tonight, let's talk more about like we do, like solutions. Like what do we do? Again, the question: what do we do with this information? And I'm willing to listen. Let me think about it for a second. What do we do with information of a possible false flag terrorist attack on our own soil by our own people or and outside interest groups that happened 22 years ago that has led us into war after war after war after war? What do we think about that? What do we do about it? I mean, in many ways we could answer that question, but I'm trying to be more objective. Well, violence is objective sometimes. This is why I'm going to get banned. It'll be my solutions section of the CTO. Well, what do y'all think? I know Nessie's got some perspective there. She's been perspectoring all night. I'd like to hear from Alcatraz or V or anyone else. Our new Ronins. What y'all think? What is going on? Okay, we can split up like realistically what we can do / think. You can think about anything, and then like idealistically what you could do / think, because we're still building this show. It's still a little in the works. It's all right, Nessie. Let's see. No, don't get that close. Thank you. Maybe we should go over let's go over idealistically first. Get that out of the way. Because it's hard to put ideals into reality sometimes, unless you got determination, you got good work ethic, and you got a lot of contacts, or money. Excuse me. It's been the air, and for anyone else that lives around Mr. Darling, the air has been thick today. I don't know if it's because of fires or what, but it's not just this. It's really getting me. So idealistically, from my perspective, hypothetically, hello? You hear me? You can't clip this out wrong. I'm saying it. I mean, I guess you could clip out me saying those words, but then I'd fucking debunk it. Idealistically, hypothetically speaking. Am I allowed to say this shit? I can't be that real with you all. I can be slightly real, and you may think I'm being real, but nah, I can be real. I mean, we could go constitutional, motherfucker. We could go straight constitutional, straight liberal. Y'all want to go straight liberal? I ain't talking about the libtards. I'm talking about straight liberal. I think you all know where I'm going with that. It's a little thing called a revolutionary war. You ever heard of it? Just a little act of rebellion. Not destroying Starbucks and family businesses and shit, even though I'm for destroying corporate entities. But no, an actual revolution. Fighting the actual enemy. Not a mock enemy that's been placed in front of us. That's, again, not to get into details, but that's the idealistic way, because we have the constitutional right to form militias to fight with the military against enemies home and or abroad. And that counts shadow government subverting your culture, traditions, anything. Your media, your history. I'm talking about American. I'm not talking about white history or any of that shit. I'm talking about American history, which involves a lot of races and a lot of cultures. So idealistically, legally, according to our Constitution, ideally, even though the federal government would have a different idea for you there, they'd get in the way, which would tell you something. We fight back. And we take the power back. What the fuck? Did Rage not teach us anything? You gotta take the power back. I don't even think they said that. Hold on. We need some Rage. Rage, I can't believe that they were a plant, right? There have been many bands that were plants for propaganda. That's a whole subject we'll talk about in a later episode. It's fucking crazy. And I can prove it. Rage Against the Machine. Take the power back. Maybe I'm thinking of like an Ice Cube song, Ice T song. First thing first, oh, it is a song. Actually, if I play this, I can't turn this part into a podcast. So I think we know Rage Against the Machine. All right, Nessie. Yeah, so idealistically, we literally use our own constitutional rights and Bill of Rights to take the power back and put these people on a new Nuremberg trial, destroy the enemy, and live life prosperous again without these fucking foreign wars, internal wars. We take care of what's ours because this is our country. Yes, I know some of you don't want borders and shit, but that's an ideal. When you have the world the way it is, you're going to have borders, at least up to a certain point. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe you don't want everyone just amalgamated into a lump. Maybe you want differences. You know what I mean? Differences are good. Isn't that our strength, the diversity? Well, don't turn everyone into the same fucking lumpy consumer piece of shit. That ain't diversity. Maybe their skin tone's different, but everyone's the same on the inside. That's not diversity. That's bullshit. That's indoctrination. See what I'm saying? They sell you a half-truth of diversity as our strength. But the way they use it is it's a strength for them, not the people. It's another half-truth. It can be a strength. See, that's what... Whenever you hear a fucking tagline from a corporate entity that says something like that it is the truth, they don't say should, could, would. They say this is it. 9 times out of 10, it's probably propaganda to send you on the wrong narrative for their gains. First thing, all right, Nessie, here we go. What you got to say, Goyle? First thing, these scenarios, including many others that have been proven, like how it takes 50 to 60 years for the truth to come out about the truth of decisions made, like cigarettes, for example. It takes a while. Should show Americans that the government lies to them constantly in order to keep the peace or sway public opinion, which can be applied even to today's scenarios, making everyone agreeable. All right? Complicit, complacent, complicit, and dead. That's what they want. They don't want you alive. They don't want you crazy. They don't want you a human being. They want you fucking... somber and dead. And that sounds cynical, but I'm talking about what they say. I'm not talking about my opinion. It's what these fucking people have said in books, interviews. The elites, man, they're crazy. An example of this is how, like, let's go back. How, like, gun laws are being voted on. News channels are fed gun violence stories to fuel public support. Right. Well, you know, the whole, look, I hope we have many different people out there with many different opinions. That really strengthens everyone, I think. Strengthens our knowledge and our way of understanding things. But when it comes to gun control, I believe that we should have the same guns, same rights to the same guns that the military has. Because one day, and it happened at Waco. It happened during World War II with the Asians that were rounded up and put in concentration camps. It's happened many times already on our soil. It will happen again. It happened with COVID in a slightly different way. But if we have to fight our own military or our own government, do you want gun control? And that's going to happen again. But it doesn't. It's not like a movie where the whole country goes against itself. Even the Civil War wasn't like that. There were plenty of places they didn't really fight. You know, they just stood back and watched. But it will happen again. It's going to happen worse in the future. I can already tell you that. More than likely. See, I could have said it will happen 100%, but more than likely it will, because it's happened over and over again. You're going to want to be able to defend yourself. Now, here's the double-edged sword of that. People are like, but children getting killed with guns, but children using guns. That happens, and it sucks, and that's up to the parents or the guardians of said child, especially a child who cannot legally get a gun. It's up to them to control if they're using their guns, if they're buying guns. You know, that's up to the parents. It's not up to the fucking government. That's where the liberal in me comes in a lot. But the thing is that the argument against gun control can be summed up like this. If it's not the military talking about, what about gangs? Or more or less, what about people who don't follow laws? So you make more laws for gun control for the people who are being responsible with guns, following the laws. But then the people who didn't follow laws in the first place, they're going to get better guns. Because you keep fucking controlling the masses' guns. If you're against the Second Amendment, leave the country. That's how we got away from the crown in the first place, was because we had guns. Well, we just talk our way? Nah, please, Mr. King, don't take me over. Please. Okay, well, we'll throw the tea in the water, and we'll have a little scuffle, and then we're going to leave. You see what I'm saying? And what about foreign enemies? Like China or someone else, anyone attacking us. Is the military just going to take care of their own? Most of the military, not all of them. There's good ones in there, like with the police, like with everything, like with gangs. There's good people in gangs. There's good people everywhere. They're all just misled. But, fuck, I forgot what I was going to say there. It's good to be aware of these tactics. Yes, Nessie. You can't remember the second thing? That's okay. Chicago banned guns and has the highest gun violence. That speaks for itself. A lot of big cities have higher gun control laws, and they have more violent crimes with guns. Now, you could say, well, there's more people in those cities. But percentage-wise, in these, what do they call them? What are these cities called? What do they call them? It's like some fucking, like, daycare word for, like, New York, California, and stuff. Sanctuary cities. Yeah, in these sanctuary cities, you'll see more violence with guns. Grab your powder horn and your musket. Exactly, Drew. See, we need to go back to the musket days. Give the military muskets. Give us muskets. There you go. We don't have to keep making better guns. As long as the military only has muskets, we're fine. Hey, I'm for that. Just muskets and nuclear bombs. So, like, if the muskets don't work, hey, we got a nuclear bomb. It's a deterrent. Don't fuck with me. I think that could be the best way. I don't even think that's idealistic. I think that's realistic. But how you doing, Drew? Thank you for coming in, buddy. We're about to wrap up tonight. We're talking about 9/11, kind of going off subject, trying to tie it in with other things. I did go on a rant there for a second, but I'm allowed to. But we're at the section where we're trying to figure out what we can do with the information we just acquired or heard from in tonight's episode, which again had to do with 9/11. And talking about idealistically, we use our constitutional rights, Bill of Rights, to fight back against the government and take the power back and reform laws and make sure crony capitalism outlawed, lobbying outlawed, all sorts of shit outlawed, reinstituting the gold standard or some new standard for finances. See, all this shit that could save us, they're doing the opposite. So what does that tell you? You got to have worth for these ideas, or they're just ideas. Well, it looks like happened in France when people stood up. Yeah, what about the yellow jackets? Yep, exactly. The police and the military were for the government, not the fucking people. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. In BLM riot people, they're rioters. They're not protesters. They're rioters. Let's be honest. The Occupy movement protesters, that was an actual protest. You can see the difference, majority speaking. But here, but in all these different examples, no matter what side the libertarian, the Occupy movement, the more democratic, which is bullshit, BLM movement, the more Republican Proud Boys movement, all of these movements of the people usually have to fight the police and the military. What the fuck does that tell you? It doesn't matter what side you're on, you're not allowed to protest your government. That automatically tells you you have no control in your government. Simple as that. Control has been taken away from you if you can't truly protest against your own government. It's as simple as that. It's logic. It's reasonable. But we're so desensitized with fucking video games and movies and snacks and sex and all this shit. We're so preoccupied. Why would we want to lose all these amazing amenities we've mustered up? What do we get out of it? I may lose everything if I fight the government. Well, let me tell you, folks, most shit nowadays ain't worth fighting for when it comes to the consumer material bullshit that we're being fed every day. Food, movies, everything. Everything. It's all horrible. It's really horrible. Come on. It's really horrible. Past 10, 15 years. 2008 was the beginning of the end for entertainment in America. 2008. It's been shit since. Kennedy had an amazing quote. I think it was Kennedy. Or hell, it could have been a founding father. Here, let me look it up. I think I want to end it on this. Because this is what I'm taking from the 9/11, learning that the government could lie to us so radically and so efficiently. That should have been a call to arms for militiamen, constitutionally speaking, and people coming together. That should have been a call to arms. But instead, there were a call to arms to go kill brown people and children and animals and bomb the fuck out of them back to the Stone Age for oil. That's what you all died for, all the soldiers. I'm sorry if there's any veterans out there, but I'm pretty sure most of you that are still alive to this day that were veterans of those wars, pretty sure you have the same fucking opinion. You were used to destabilize and they were all right. They were doing fine. Go look at Baghdad before and after and tell me how amazing democracy is. Because again, even though Bush was a Republican, Democrats caused the wars. That is a fact, and I'm not saying that because I'm being emotional. I'm just saying it emotionally. But it's a fact, and it sucks. America never had a foreign war until the Democratic Party was instituted. Fact. 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 Sorry. It fucking sucks. But it's fact. If we could just get through more... Sorry, Drew. Let's look at here. If we could just get more thoroughly occupied by our military, the response time to sudden foreign invasion will be down to at most 3 days. So I will say, at least in Kentucky, and you may know this, we have a fairly good amount of military bases, at least around the area we live in. I don't know if that's common for other states to have a good amount. I don't think we should have a standing military. I think everyone should be trained in guns from a young age, and we go back to militias, because militias are the people who keep the peace. It's a big responsibility, and that's the thing too. True America is all about self-responsibility and just responsibility in general. And with all the amenities that we have nowadays, we have less responsibility in certain ways. We probably have more in others, but less responsibility of survival. I don't know. That would be a whole other subject. I don't want to kind of completely detour us off track. But I feel like we should all be trained with guns, man, woman, and child, everybody, and we take care of our own. And I'm not saying we don't let in foreigners or any of that shit. That don't couple those together. Our own is those who are American, those that come over legally that want to help this country. You know, there aren't a lot of countries out there in the world where people actually want to move to said country other than like America or Europe. Just saying. Not Russia, not Australia, not usually Africa, not even usually China. Well, nowadays, last 10 years. But people like America because historically speaking, you have more freedoms. Ask the Cubans. They're just down there. Ask them how many rights they have compared to America. They're dying to get over here. People die to get over here. Why? It ain't just the propaganda. Historically speaking, we have been a good country here and there. Bad with some things, good with others. Very unique. I don't know. I'm a patriot. I'm a true patriot. I'm not some fucking nationalist. But I am a patriot of my own country. Why would I be against my own country? If anything, if I was against my country, which technically I am, with how the country is now, you think you'd want to make it better, not completely fucking destroy it, turn it inside out, fix the problems. It's your country. You know, eventually we probably won't have countries in the future. Hundreds of years if we last that long in the future. Won't have countries. We'll be in spas, and it's hard to put up boundaries in spas and, you know, other shit. But while we have countries, we need to take care of our own people. And it ain't about the country. It's about the people in the damn country. That's where most politicians will steer you wrong. They talk about country duty, but they don't talk about the people. And when they do talk about the people, they victimize the people instead of strengthening them. And when they do strengthen people, it's for war. And they keep doing that over and over and over. Right. Need more armed government occupation. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. We definitely need a lot of American bases over in other countries. It's really awesome. Wouldn't you all love a Chinese military base in your backyard? Or a North Korean base in your backyard? Or a Russian base? Don't you all think we should have Russian bases in America? Open borders for other militaries in America, I say. We wouldn't like it. You think they fucking like it over there? Iraq don't want us there. The Patriot Act, yeah, that's a whole fucking kit and caboodle right there. Patriot Act destroyed America. Or at least it was one of the final nails in the coffin of the American dream. And it can be used on anyone, no matter who the fuck you are. Country is still American. Can't look to the people in the spotlight as proper representation of the actual people. Absolutely. And that's what we were talking about, Drew, just briefly on and off, is that you can't really see this shit in black and white. People aren't black and white. There's a lot of gray areas, and a lot of people, whether they're leftist, rightist, whatever, they all want the same thing: to survive, have a good life, and prosper. I think that's 99% of the people. It gets the 1%. 99% of people in America or in life just want the same damn thing. But it's our ideologies that keep us apart. And it's fucking ideas. It's shit you can't even really, I mean, you can enact on an idea, but you know what I mean. Like ideologies, it's an idea, and it tears us apart. It's really wild to me. Politicians and media outlets are doing their own thing in opposition to the people. Always have been. Since fucking the days of Jesus Christ. They've been doing that forever. May not have been the same people per se, but they've been using the. Hey, if it ain't the same people doing this shit to us for thousands of years, it's people learning from the people that came before them. You know what I mean? Like, learn about your history. The enemy loves history. That's how they control us. I'm talking about 5 days ago. I'm talking about 500 years ago. If you ain't learning history, someone else is, and they're taking advantage of you. As one example. That is the image that is being given of what the government would like to see in us, to sway us towards that. Towards what, Nessie? Sorry. Down with the video. I know, I love video games, but, you know, like with anything, video games can be both good and bad. You know, a lot of ideas that we used to have in our minds and we created into reality can be used for various things. And like a hammer. Well, yeah, hammer. You can fix something or kill someone with it, right? So everything is usually all these physical manifestations of our ideas are like neutral normally. Even with an atom bomb, I'm sure you could do something with it that wouldn't be total destruction. You could do something with it. I don't know, take it apart, repurpose it, whatever. But It's like the paradox. I think it's a paradox of like, who kills someone? The person who kills someone, right? The person holding the gun itself, or the bullet that comes out of the gun, or the big wound it creates. And that's not, in my opinion, it's a rhetorical question. It's meant to get you thinking about, it's an allegory, right? It's a metaphor. It gets you thinking, like, who is responsible in that way? And that kind of goes in what Addie was saying earlier. 100% of people want prosperity on their own terms. We're all American in one way or another. But so many troublemakers want prosperity plus power, which isn't really prosperity at all. Yeah. Power, clout, popularity. I think popularity is the new power, at least when it comes to the masses, especially with all the social media, socialism media. That's why historians are saying now that we are in the final stages of where Rome was before it was overthrown. Absolutely. It's obvious. Power is in power over others. Right. Not empowerment, true empowerment. It's to have power over others. Yeah, that's completely two different ways of thinking. And a lot of people seem to go for one over the other. Yeah, the whole Rome comparison. Yeah, I think most of us heard of that. Because written historically speaking, America's very kin to Rome and architecture and the way things have been going, and the way things went. I was going to look up, to end tonight's podcast, I was going to look up a quote. I'm pretty sure it was Kennedy in one of his most famous quotes or speeches. Drew, I tell people, history, life, in many ways, are a repeating cosine. We repeat things, especially in the past 100, 120 years. We've repeated some of the same events every 20 or 30 years. But that's almost 1 or 2 generations, so some people don't remember. And they forget. And when they finally recognize that what happened to them before, or the country, or whatever in the world, is happening again under almost the exact same circumstances, they're like too old to give a shit. Or too invested in stuff to want to fight back. It's a brilliant plan. The enemy is insanely smart, and let me emphasize this. In my heart of heart, in my dark heart of hearts, I would join the enemy, because they do have a certain idea. They do have a certain way of thinking that makes sense. But you have to be almost ethically dead. But they want to think beyond ethics. They're trying to think almost like robots, like what's the most efficient for their cause, which is something we're not going into tonight. We'll do that much later. But yeah, my dark heart of hearts, if I was still a rich boy up into being an adult like I was a kid, I probably would have joined the Freemasons when they asked me. And yeah, you all be fighting against me. But I feel like the enemy's plan, it doesn't think of the future. It's got a very distinct plan and a very distinct outcome. And it will kill you if you try to deviate from what they have planned. And that's not good. That's not thinking of, that has no forethought. There's no long-term thinking, because we got a lot of radicals. A lot of the elites, they're not just businessmen and shit. They are religious radicals. They have religious fervor, and they have God on their side. Whatever God you want to think about. Many gods. Our memory is shrinking. Soon they'll remember it for us for wholesale, right? Jesus. That reminds me of Genshin. There's like these memory, what were they? A1 memory canisters. You can remember, like, it's like I don't have to learn how to cook. I can just put a memory canister to my head and I learn to cook. The power mongers are modern day pharaohs building arks for their children and on the backs of the people. God damn, Drew. I like that. I've never heard the side of you. I like it. Nah. Total Recall? Are you serious? Bro, I want to watch that for a watch party. Nice. Total Recall. I don't remember that from Total Recall, but I do love that movie. But yeah, I'm going to end some with one of my own quotes, and then we'll try to find the Kennedy quote. I don't even know. Are you allowed to quote yourself? Oh, God, I'm going to forget it. Yep, I forgot it. Let me see if I can find this quote over here. I don't even know what I'm looking for. Kennedy quote. No. Hold on. Quote about being invaded. One of you going to know the quote I'm looking up here in a minute. Quote about being invaded think of it right now. I've said so much tonight, my brain is fried. About losing the country that your forefathers conquered. It's a very whimsical quote that doesn't really tie into a leftist or rightist mentality. It's very just human. It's not Charlie Chaplin, is it? It ain't Ronald Reagan. No. Hold on. Resolution? What's wrong? Is it look like shit? Entitled? Titled. Total Recall was originally entitled, We'll Remember It For You Wholesale. Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool as fuck. I didn't know that. Well, he does have that quote, but if I think he's quoting someone else if he says it. Let me just look this up real quick. I'm sorry. I gots to know. I'm pretty sure... Really? Do I have to go through this shit? It's so whimsical. I love it. Hold on. They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Benjamin fucking O.G. Franklin. You want me to say that again? They who can give up essential liberties, like our amendments that have been completely destroyed, like the Patriot Act, to obtain little bit of temporary safeties, like most of the shit we take advantage of every day, deserve neither liberty nor safety. He was a real motherfucker. But he got so high he forgot to be president. Philip K. Dick is the author of a bunch of short stories that were later turned into blockbuster films. Okay. Right. You know, there's that whole theory that most of the singles from the 90s, pop songs in the 90s and early 2000s were written by one guy. Have you heard that theory? I don't even know if it's a theory anymore. I think it's real. Anyway, hold on. On the lands your fathers conquered. On the land that your forefathers conquered. It is Tom. Oh, it's old Tom. I thought it was either Kennedy, Thomas Jefferson, or Thomas Paine. A lot of good Toms. Here, let me read this for you. Now, listen to this, dude. This was like fucking over 200 years ago. We should read 1984 on stream over and over. Yeah, writers collaborate. Performers often effectively buy songs from writers, yeah. Maybe I should be that sort of writer. Get the fuck off here. Technically, the publisher buys it and owns it, right? Always publishers. Artists own near nothing. You're right about that. Writers get paid, though, I think. Hey, fuck it. I don't need the limelight. I just want the money. I don't think I have either. Let me read this real quick. From my buddy, old Thomas Jefferson. Where's the Miz? If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all property, all that's already happened, until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. How ironic. I believe that banking institutions are far more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom its property belongs. And notice how I didn't mention God once there. For those who are like, the forefathers and all of our old presidents, they all loved God. No, some of them, they were spiritual. They weren't religious. They just probably went along so they wouldn't be chastised against and stuff. But that's, actually, that's a great segue for our next episode of CTO, episode 4, because part 3 of Zeitgeist, of which we'll be watching, is all about banks and all the prophecies Thomas Jefferson had about said banks has come to fruition, and it's gone beyond that. It used to not be life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You know what it was originally? Does anyone know? We're going to end it right after this. I love everyone that came in tonight. Thank you so much. But let me reiterate the question. It used to not be life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness. Oh, I'm in the pursuit of happiness. Thank you, government. What was it? Does anyone know? The third word was different. Life and liberty, always been there. Life and liberty. Awesome. You promised me life, or at least a decent life, and liberties. I can get behind that. What was the third thing that we were supposed to be promised constitutionally within the original Bill of Rights for Americans? Which back then used to be something different, and nowadays, it's everybody. I'll let y'all think about it. What do you think it was? It's a P word. Oh, Nessie. Oh, you can't see it over there. I'm going to have to fix the chat again. I don't know. But, yeah. It used to be life, liberty, and property. So, I want that to sink in. And I want to end it there. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming in tonight. You have been wonderful. Very patient with me, for those that have been here since the end. If you couldn't make it to the end, I will be uploading this video on YouTube. I've been uploading all of them on YouTube, and they haven't been struck down yet, so we'll see how long they last. Thank you. I was kind of dreading tonight, honestly. I was dreading talking about 9/11 because it's not necessarily a controversial topic anymore, but in many ways, it's such a hard topic to still speak of, from my point of view. I can imagine living in New York and having to go through all that shit. It's all right, Drew. Like I said, we try to keep every episode below 3 hours. It doesn't always work. And I've been uploading it on YouTube as a visual podcast, of which, you can listen to. So if you're ever interested in your own time, away from your kids and prying ears, if you wanted to listen to these, I do post every episode. This is the third one. Next episode, we're going to wrap up Zeitgeist, the first doc, talk about banks and money, which is very compelling as well. I think all these topics have been compelling. I hope you have as well. But, yeah, so I'd say next Sunday or whenever. Our schedule's in flux right now. Keep a lookout for that. But I'll let y'all know with the Discord event. But can I get a round of applause? Since I don't have a soundboard, eight-armed alien. I thank you. Or is it 16 arms? He's got 8 sets. Is that 16? That's 16, ain't it? Keep it real. Keep it simple. Keep it real simple. No, we don't keep it real simple. I wish we could. Ooh, thank you. All right, but you have a fabulous night, you all. You have a great rest of the week coming up in the weekend. We will be streaming tomorrow for a watch party. We'll be watching the one and only Akira anime. Yes, we will. Because a lot of people who have watched anime in the dojo haven't seen Akira. They just know about it through memes and stuff, so... Yeet. Oh, shit. Let me hold up. See, I love the way you give me ideas. You all always give me ideas. Add a yeet command. I don't think it's going to be the yeet, yeet, yeet. I can't do it. It's going to be something. I like it. Thank you, Drew. Yote. Yote peyote. Hey, now. Calm down. Let's see. Chat off. Internet off. Yes. All right. Again, thank you for coming in. I don't raid out with my podcast because I want it to be succinct, and I just don't raid with the CTO. Okay, but y'all have a fabulous night. See you tomorrow. If not tomorrow, I'll see you next week or whenever. Take care. Take care of yourselves and each other.